Tip Today, in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
Good morning, welcome along to Tip Today, 1800 938 007. That's our free phone number. It won't cost you if you'd like to make a call to us. And Ali is producing today. Just to begin, can I put a warning out there, because I know that Councillor Michael Chicken Brennan was on to us just to highlight the fact that there's a lot of flooding on the roads out there. If you're about to set out to work or the school run or whatever, just take care, won't you? Coming up on the show this morning, calls to end the temporary release of violent criminals, the legacy of Michael D Higgins as Catherine Connolly is sworn in. We'll speak about that in just a few moments' time. Residents in Killinall highlighting ongoing issues with water, and that's going back over decades. Women in dairy farming, we'll speak about that. The legalities around e-scooters. Our agony aunt Phil is with us. We'll talk about interior design with Karen, and lots more coming up on the programme. You can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday@tipfm.com. That great competition is ongoing as well, highlighting the opening of the brand new Carrickdown store in Clonmel, the ultimate destination, I'm told, this Christmas, with amazing exclusive ranges of ladies' fashion, jewellery, gifts, homeware, and of course the wonderful Christmas shop as well. And to celebrate the new Carrickdown Superstore in the heart of Clonmel, we have another €50 Carrickdown gift card to give away today. I'll give you a cue to call on that in just a while, but do listen out for it, won't you? Let's have a look at the front pages of some of your newspapers today. The Irish Times to begin with, and their lead story: delays in criminal investigation into the County Armagh man at the centre of one of the world's largest catfishing cases were caused by insufficient resourcing at the Police Service of Northern Ireland, a watchdog has found. Also on the Times today, we're reading that some district courts continue to allow motorists to avoid conviction for penalty points offences by making charity donations, despite a 2014 High Court ruling holding that such an approach is inappropriate. And also on the Times today, learning to speak one or more new languages can slow biological aging and protect the brain against age-related cognitive declines, is a new study. Must keep that in mind. The front page of the Irish Daily Mail, lead story there: construction work has still not begun on over 44,000 homes that have planning permission in Dublin, the Irish Mail is revealing today. The Indo is dominated by a photograph of Monica Pumpkin, a member of the Sanctuary Runners organisation, presenting Michael D Higgins and his wife Sabina with yellow roses and symbolising friendship and joy. There is the President and Sabina make their way from the Áras last evening. The lead story on the Indo, though: Jim Gavin will not be taking part in the Fianna Fáil review into its botched presidential campaign, which many TDs expect won't answer key questions around the process. It's a bit like having Hamlet without the prince, isn't it? The Examiner also dominated by a photograph of a waving President Michael D Higgins as he leaves the Áras. Michael D leaving Áras an Uachtaráin for the final time as President of Ireland, bringing to an end 14 years which tested and redefined the bounds of the office, we're told on the Examiner today. Also, Victims Advocacy Organisation has claimed the justice system is weighted in favour of the offender after it emerged 45 prisoners who have committed serious or violent offences were on temporary release, and we'll be speaking about that in just a little while on the programme. So that's a look at what's making headlines today. If you'd like to make comment on any of that, we'd be glad to hear from you. 083 311 3311. Now, as you're well aware, Dublin Castle will host today's presidential inauguration. President-elect Catherine Connolly will receive her seal of office from the Chief Justice at a ceremony this morning. Now, the new change of office means that Michael D Higgins steps away after 14 years in the Áras. But what legacy does he leave? Well, Adi Roche was one of the many to pay tribute to him yesterday, and she joins me now. Adi, good morning to you.
Good morning, Fran. I'm just conjuring up from listening to you reading from the papers the images from the Ors last night, because, you know, the sanctuary runners were very close to Michael D's heart.
Sure.
As they are to many of us, really, and particularly in these difficult times. It was lovely that they got that last opportunity. And I'm happy to tell you that I was there myself last Thursday. I had the wonderful privilege of being invited by Sabina and Michael D for one of his last more kind of personal events at the Ors, and he made an extraordinary speech. And I just looked around at the people who were there. It was quite an eclectic mix of people, poets and writers and painters, politicians, humanitarians, and it was just wonderful to be there. And I kind of, you know, in a moment, I took an out of the Ors second to kind of look back at his period of 14 years, but just to also say, Fran, and kind of most people wouldn't know this, but I have a relationship with Michael D and Sabina from about 1982 or 83.
Wow.
So that's going back. Yeah. That's going back a couple of decades. And actually, some of the campaigns that we worked on together, this is when he was just, you know, an ordinary politician, but you could see that he was one that kind of, you know, was able to put his head above the parapet, as they say, because during the very tense times during Ronald Reagan's period, when he was going around, you know, trying to save a rattle between the Soviet Union and the rest of the world about nuclear weapons, sure, and Central America and everything. So we had a campaign together called the Campaign Against Reagan's Foreign Policy, which was during the visit to Ballyporeen, and I was there, based in Clonmel, of course. But, you know, many is the time that we actually did protest against the injustice of American foreign policy at the time. And Michael D was to the forefront of that, the anti-apartheid movement. You know, he was a man that sort of, you know, he was able to talk the talk, but he certainly walked the walk, because he was full, and remains so, like full of integrity. Everything that inspires him is about justice for humanity. And of course, I loved every so often when he tested the boundaries over the last 14 years of the presidency. And, you know, he's, on one hand, you could say he's a politician, but he was a brilliant politician as our Minister for Arts, Culture and the Gaeltacht. I had a lot of contact with him during that time, particularly when we were making the first documentary actually on Chernobyl, and he was very supportive of that. But he also was an extraordinary diplomat, because he had, you know, that blend of the philosopher, poet, the thinker and the politician, and that kind of world vision of where he often stepped out and kind of went against the grain, sometimes went against the kind of more broader political narrative. And I have to say, I got terrible flack for it, indeed, over the time.
Indeed.
But that is one of the things, Fran, that I have to say, his courage and how unafraid he always has been to speak out on things that are very important for the world.
One of the words you used, Adi, was compassion. Was that evident to you right across your relationship with him?
Oh, for sure. I mean, like definitely. Like, I think it's probably part of kind of his core. Like, if you could say that somebody was in passion with life and with humanity, like he was constantly transforming that passion into his compassion for that very humanity, because he just didn't think nice thoughts about how the world should be based on peace and should be based on human rights and justice, but he lived it. He enacted it wherever he could. And so many times for us, and I know the people in Tipperary, all of Tipperary, but particularly around my home place of Clonmel, where people kind of reached into their hearts and opened their doors to the children of Chernobyl for so many decades. Michael D did the same thing with Ors and Uachtaráin, and he had us there several times, and Karen Morrissey there from Clonmel and the others were many's the day coming up to Christmas when the children would arrive at Dublin Airport amid great hoo-ha and excitement and tears and joy and everything. And we would head under Garda escort, head straight to Ors on Uachtaráin to be there to meet the Ors and Uachtaráin Santa Claus around the Christmas tree, and several times he did wonderful gifts like that to us. And he also he launched my own first book on Chernobyl, actually, when he was the Minister for Arts, Culture and the Gaeltacht, because he had a deep and profound understanding of how man-made disasters can impact ordinary people like us. And he recognised that the impact of Chernobyl was not just in the immediate region in Ukraine, but also into Belarus and parts of Russia. And he was very conscious of the environmental impact of that too, which is something we're paying for today. So at that level, he was very interested.
And you could see behind the constraints of the presidency, he's impatient with the warmongering that we're witnessing around the world today as well, Adi. Was that evident in conversations with him?
Oh gosh, Fran, you've certainly put your finger on the pulse of something there. That was something that he felt a profound moral duty to speak out about, and absolutely many is the time. He was a great believer in the power of the larynx, and by God, he was a brilliant speaker and is a brilliant speaker. And he really, I suppose, in a sense for me, because he's one of the last thing I said to Michael D, and I'm going to say it in Irish and in English. I whispered into his ear, I said, "Is tussa molech molgile mar." So you are my hero, my valiant one. Like, he
it's beautiful.
was so strong on issues of leadership and of having, he had a great moral compass, and he believed that the power of the larynx in persuasion, in diplomacy, in converting the other, the enemy, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So he never was a man that ever would preach for war, always for dialogue building, for trying to find mutuality between even warring factions, that like negotiation and diplomacy, and trying to, through the power of discussion, to get people to actually resolve problems through that, and also through the agencies, of which Ireland, of course, is such a part of, the United Nations. He was a great believer in the Blue Helmets, our own United Nations peacekeeping forces, who are fantastic and have been for decades. So he was always one to protect independent Irish policy, to protect Irish neutrality and independent thinking, really, and of course the triple lock. And he did indeed push the boundaries on that. And actually, Fran, I don't know if you remember this now, but at the very start of the Ukrainian war, which of course has us going night and day still all these years later, unfortunately, but Sabina Higgins is a tremendous speaker and voice for peace as his partner in wife, his partner in life and in everything. Sabina wrote a fantastic letter to all of the papers, which was about...
She got into awful trouble for that, Adi, didn't she?
She did, Fran, she did. But you know what? They're firm believers in what we call a truth to power, that you have to speak your voice and speak your truth. And while the sabre rattling of the various warmongers and the build-up of the military-industrial complex, while all of that is going on, there are still wonderful voices that have the moral fibre and the moral courage. And that's what I love about Michael D. He has the courage. He did it on Central and South America, the anti-apartheid system. He spoke about, and he's spoken out very strongly against Gaza, for the people of Palestine. Like, he is a man who wears his heart and his courage on his sleeve, and exactly, what he stands for. And Fran, can I just say, really, on a personal basis, that he did something extraordinary for my family. I don't know if you remember when I went forward for the presidency in 1997, and Michael D was part of my, campaign team at the time, but my presidency, fell around one of the issues, which was around my brother's
I remember case. Well, Adi, it was a dreadful time for you, yeah.
Yes, which went back to 1969. Would you believe Michael D, just purely because he saw it as a grave miscarriage of justice, actually took up the gauntlet on my brother Donal's case, and Donal, was exonerated over 2 years ago, officially by the state, and received a state apology, and that was a profound moment for all of our family. And then Michael D, several months later, had a ceremony that had never been carried out in the Áras before, which was the official ceremony, where my brother received, like we used to call it, received his freedom, really. And it had just such a profound impact, particularly on my brother himself, because he's had all those decades, nearly over 50 years, really, of being, I suppose, a non-person, because he was stripped of his good character and any prospect of, having a decent life. And even at this, age of my brother, it was just coming up to his 80th birthday. He was exonerated, and Michael D just showed through that intervention that, while he thinks big, he thinks globally, but by God does he act locally. And that was something, that, I could even get a tuck in my heart even thinking about it. And one of the things we did right after that was my whole family, we went and visited our parents' grave, and together, and just saying, while my parents didn't live to see their son being exonerated, but we felt they were watching over us on that day. So really, that kind of sums up for me at a personal level, Michael D, both at a small level, but also at a global level. He was that man is that man of great vision of peace and justice. And Michael D, I would often say, I'm an advocate of peace, but not peace without justice, or justice without peace, because the two go hand in hand. And I think that's really simple but very profound.
And did you ever disagree with his actions? I'm just wondering about his praise in Cuba, for example, or the congratulatory letter to the new president of Iran. Did you ever disagree with things he did over the time, Adi?
Oh, for sure. Listen, for God's sake, sure, nobody's ever all right about everything.
Yeah.
And, you've picked out, those two particular things. But, and like people have their own opinions about things like that. But, I suppose, I suppose it still shows that whether we would agree all the time or not, he still speaks his own kind of truth to power, I suppose, in a sense, and that, like, he still stands for what he stands for, and he doesn't kind of project otherwise. And I have to say, I'm hoping that today, the day that we're speaking together, Fran, is another kind of historic moment for us with Catherine Connolly. Because I've been listening to, some of the things that she is speaking about for her presidency, and I know most of us maybe don't know her that well. I don't know her that well myself, but I'm just thinking that, there may be some similarities in relation to the global vision that she has in relation to peace in our world and peace in our time, because as you mentioned earlier, Fran, we're living in very, very fragile, frightening times,
Absolutely.
really. And when people are frightened, governments make very poor decisions. And, we need to have voices of sanity, voices that give us other narratives and other ways of thinking about it. Because, if you go the logical conclusion of the way things are at the moment, where international treaties on nuclear disarmament are being dismantled, not being replaced, it brings us closer to the potential of having a nuclear war. They've even mentioned nuclear weapons a couple of times. We won't say who's been mentioning, but we know who we're talking about. And that would be one of my deep concerns, that something like in the Ukraine war, for example, that there, because it has been cited in the past, that there would be a potential for a nuclear use there. And already Ukraine has been so compromised in this terrible war that has been raging around them and unfolding all these years later. When the invasion happened through Chernobyl, my God, I think I spoke to you at the time about the damage that did to the Chernobyl exclusion zone at the time. That has never happened in the history of warfare or in the history of the atomic age, where a nuclear power station was taken over. I mean, that is purely because it is so beyond our wildest imaginings for the dangers that can bring to humankind. So, and it has happened in the Ukrainian war.
It's absolutely frightening, Adi, for sure. Just before I let you go, will you just repeat that phrase to me? It's such beautiful in Irish. It's tusa malaich. Will you just repeat that to me?
It's tusa is as in you are. It's tusa malaich. Mogile Mar, Ghille, Mogile Mar. It's actually from a song. And actually, it's the song that we sang at my father's graveside.
Beautiful song. I know it well,
when he came down from the Ors.
Yeah.
It's Tusa Malech Mogile Mar. And that's what I said into Michael D's ear on Thursday night. And I really wish him himself and Sabina a wonderful life, because, of course, this isn't the end. It's only just a new beginning. Michael D has lots more to do.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because without now the constraints of the presidency, it's going to be very interesting what he has to say on world affairs. Adi, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Adi. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. That's Adi Roche speaking to us today. 1800 938 007.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See Slattery's Garage.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Now, this week, the spotlight is once again on e-scooter issues, as reports revealed that some unscrupulous sales reps are selling e-scooters capable of reaching speeds up to 80k, would you believe? Now, it appears there's a way to, override the software in some way, allowing these scooters to exceed the standard 20 kilometre per hour limit. However, a significant concern with these scooters is that those injured by them have no legal avenues to pursue insurance claims, leaving them vulnerable in the event of an accident. Now, Liam Moloney is president of the Pan-European Personal Injury Lawyers Organisation, and he joins me now. Good morning to you, Liam.
Good morning, Fran, and good morning to your listeners.
Thanks for coming on with us today. Liam, for people who are injured by an e-scooter, are there any legal avenues open to them?
You just mentioned actually earlier on there in your introduction that e-scooters can be modified. Well, actually, that's a breach of the road traffic regulations that were introduced in 2024 to put some kind of regulatory framework on the increase in the use of these e-scooters on Irish roads. And I know in your area there's 7 large towns in Tipperary, and probably pedestrians and people are well used to these e-scooters flying past them. So there are serious concerns now in relation to the extent of injuries that are being caused by the use of these e-scooters. Now, I suppose just in relation to the regulations that were introduced, these new Road Traffic Act in 2024, these e-scooters are banned from public footpaths. They're allowed on cycle lanes, bus lanes, regional and national roads. They have to be fitted with a front and rear lamp, and most importantly, they cannot be modified to allow for an increased speed. So that's actually a breach of the Act. But you'll often see, and I see myself here up in Kildare, you're walking on the footpath and all of a sudden someone flies past you at an enormous speed. So there are very serious risks for pedestrians and road users as a result of these e-scooters.
So, again, can I put it to you? I mean, if I'm knocked down by one of these, what recourse do I have, or do I have any?
Well, the first thing is the new Act provides that they're actually exempt from tax, insurance and licensing. And so, as you said, some of these e-bikes and e-scooters are now being modified, and they can be done easily. And there was a commentary yesterday by a member of the Gardaí about the concerns that they have that the speeds can be increased up to 80 kilometres an hour. And in relation to the insurance, they're exempt from insurance. So if you're knocked down by one of these scooters and it's a 16 or 17-year-old that's on it, the likelihood is you will get no compensation, there's no insurance, and you will be left bereft of anything to cover your losses. And the RSA themselves actually have revealed in research that they did actually earlier on this year that e-scooters are now the most dangerous form of transport in Ireland, and they're surpassing motorbikes as a danger. And statistically, the guards have said in the first 6 months of this year, over 250 people have been injured as a result of the use of these scooters. So they're very, very serious concerns on the roads and footpaths in Ireland.
Yeah, we could do an item on it most days here with people complaining about it. Yeah. However, Liam, if I drive an uninsured car, an uninsured motorbike, and I knock somebody down, the Motor Insurers Bureau of Ireland will cover that. They have a fund to cover that. Does that not come into play with e-scooters?
Now, the problem here is that the Motor Insurers Bureau, and as you quite correctly say, it's the insurer of last resort, which is there. It's an amalgamation of insurance companies who pay into a fund to cover people who are injured as a result of, we'll say, a stolen car or a car that's uninsured that crashes into you and causes you injuries. But the difference is they'll only cover the uninsured use of a mechanically propelled vehicle. But these e-bikes and e-scooters are classified as powered personal transporters, PPTs in short. And as such, they're not considered mechanically propelled vehicle. So the MLBI will not cover these claims. And there's a difference in the United Kingdom, actually. These e-scooters are banned from public roads, but their equivalent Motor Insurers Bureau scheme does cover losses caused as a result of their negligent use. So it's quite serious because the Irish Medical Journal carried out a study in 2023 in relation to one main hospital in Dublin where people were being treated for e-scooter injuries, and over 50% of those people that attended there with these injuries required orthopaedic follow-up, and a lot of them also required operations. So in the main, it's pedestrians are at greater risk really of being injured because of the fact that they're allowed they're on these footpaths, but they're not supposed to be on them. And then the issue of enforcement comes in.
Yeah.
To be fair, the guards are doing their best. It's very difficult for the guards to monitor all of these e-scooters, particularly those that are being modified at the point of purchase. And that's what they're going to have to really crack down on, is that they're not supposed to be able to travel above 20 kilometres an hour under the law on roads, but they're being modified and they're being allowed to travel at speeds of up to 80 kilometres, where serious injuries can be caused to somebody and to the users of the e-bikes themselves.
Of course. Is it very simplistic of me to say that the answer to this is an insistence that the e-bikes or the e-scooters be insured?
Well, that could have been in the legislation, and it wasn't, because they're taking the view that, there's no major risk of an injury caused by these e-bikes or e-scooters. That was maybe the state's view at the time. They didn't provide for mandatory insurance in the 2024 Act that regulates e-bikes and e-scooters, and it's also open to the state to amend the Motor Insurers Bureau scheme to allow for claims to go through that scheme where people are injured as a result of the negligent use of an e-bike or an e-scooter. And it's a big problem now, and the proliferation of their use, because over the last number of years everyone's seeing a town or city that there weren't that many of them, but now there is a huge increase in the use of these e-scooters. And to be honest, not using them on public footpaths where they're not supposed to be used is a serious danger for pedestrians.
Your own organisation is pan-European, so what can we learn from other jurisdictions, do you think?
Well, in other jurisdictions, there's the issue then, as I said, in relation to the United Kingdom, the Motor Insurers Bureau scheme is there as an insurer of last resort. It does cover claims from people who are injured as a result of the negligent use of these e-scooters, such as pedestrians knocked down by these scooters. In Paris, I think they've been banned. Rental e-scooters are banned in Paris. Such was the problems they were having over there with the amount of accidents and injuries being caused. And in other cities that I've been in, probably no more than yourself, Fran, you're in different cities can cater better because they're designed, like the streets and the footpaths, massive wide footpaths, cycle lanes, they're designed for the use of these scooters along with pedestrians, along with traffic. I don't think in Ireland we were designed, or our roads, footpaths, city streets are actually designed to cater for the extent of this use, and they're not supposed to be used in cycle lanes. And so I'd like to, I've often seen these e-scooters, they're not supposed to be used there.
For sure. Are you lobbying the government to do something about this, Liam?
Well, we in relation to the Motor Insurers Bureau scheme, we have a concern about that, and I think that scheme could easily be amended to allow for claims to be brought by people who suffer losses, so they should not be out of pocket. If you suffer a significant injury, you should be entitled to pursue your claim to the insurer of last resort. So yes, we will be lobbying the government to amend the scheme.
I know that I have to let you go now because you have another interview lined up, but suffice to say, I'm looking at the screen in front of me, we are inundated already with stories from people who have had near misses or actual collisions with e-scooters. So it's a very live issue for sure.
Well, just in the RSA, actually, their study that they published, and I mentioned it earlier on, is actually reveals quite a lot of information about their use. But in fact, over a quarter of current users have already been involved in an accident. So they can be single-use accidents as well. So it's a big concern here in relation to the extent of injuries that have been caused in the accident, and the lack of regulation, the fact that they're exempted from registration, they don't have to have insurance. And while there is this prohibition in the Act that they cannot be modified, that seems to be now a serious problem, that these bikes that are supposed to be, like pedal bikes, can't go faster than 20 kilometres an hour, are being modified, or whatever the appropriate term you can use, doctored or otherwise, to allow them to travel at speeds at up to 80 kilometres an hour, which is practically crazy.
Liam, thanks for your time today. Thank you. Good morning to you. That's Liam Moloney there, who's president of the Pan-European Personal Injury Lawyers Organisation. A listener telling me that in London, e-bikes that are souped up in this fashion are confiscated and fines doled out as well. Donal thinks that e-scooters should never have been allowed in the first place, and they should be outlawed, as simple as that. Motor Insurance Bureau only gives an ex gratia payment, says one of our listeners to us as well. Okay, lots more coming in on this, including Frank telling us that e-scooters are dangerous in the wrong hands, just like cars and motorbikes. I have one. I always wear a helmet and high-vis clothing, plus I always stay on the road. Proper regulation and enforcement is required, says Frank.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See Slattery's Garage.
Tip Today on 1-800-938-007.
Now we're going to continue with the issue of e-scooters. We were just speaking to Liam Moloney on the legalities of what happens if you're in a collision with one. Paul joins me now. Paul, good morning to you.
Good morning, Fran.
You were listening to that particular conversation, Paul, and you have some issues about the understanding of the Motor Insurance Bureau of Ireland, I think. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah, well, no, my experience with them is quite a while ago. I was going to work and I was on my motorbike and I was hit by a stolen car. And, well, obviously I went to the solicitors to see what could be done. I said, well, what about criminal injury? He said, well, you had, but yeah, the stealing of the car didn't come under that heading for that purpose. And what about malicious damage? He said, you'd have to get the guy who drove the car to admit that he meant to get you. And then I said, well, what about the Motor Insurance Bureau? And he said, yes, that's an ex gratia payment, he said. And I said, I'll give you an example. He said, he had a client, no names, no pack drill.
Yeah.
And there was a girl, and she was left with her leg scarred from hip to ankle and 2 inches short of the other leg. And they didn't regard that as being serious enough.
Not serious enough?
Not serious enough.
Wow.
You know? Now, this, as I said, this was a while ago, but I sincerely doubt that, like any of these government type things or NGOs, whatever, they have the money held on tight.
Yeah, and just for listeners who might be too sure, I mean, my understanding of the Bureau is that it was established between the government and the insurance companies to underwrite motor insurance issues, as you say, in your own case, if you are hit by somebody who is not insured. That's my understanding of it. Is that your understanding as well?
That's my understanding of it too.
Yeah.
But apparently, at the time anyway, when I spoke to my solicitor, they're under no obligation to pay. They can determine what they'll pay or who they'll pay.
That's incredible. You see, I thought that they were set up to behave like the way an insurance company would, and just because you were hit by somebody who didn't have insurance, it didn't matter. They would still look after you. But you're saying to me they adjudicate each issue. Is that it?
That was my understanding from his solicitor. He said he was writing down all the details, and as soon as he got mentioned stolen car, he said, "Tell you what, son," he said, "you go on home now, and you got away with a broken leg and a cut in your nose. You can't win," he said, "and I can't lose."
So did you get paid at all?
I had a little accident policy on myself with one of these companies. I think I got 400 quid out of that, but no, I got nothing out of it.
My God. And was your vehicle written off?
The motorbike, oh, totally, yeah.
God,
but
yeah.
Do you know the Five Lamps in Dublin?
I know it well. I know it very well.
Well, I was at that junction, and I said, "Nobody get these little voices in your head saying don't do something or do this," saying don't turn into the junction, because I was going down to Sheriff Street to go to work.
Yeah.
And the next thing I knew, there was a pair of headlights coming out with several plates, which directly opposite the Five Lamps. And at this stage, I said, "Mammy, I'm dead." And the next thing I knew, I was flying.
Good God. And did the driver drive away from the scene?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They found it down the back of Sheriff Street somewhere in bits.
Right, and it was a stolen car or something, was it, Paul?
It was. Well, it was hired by a salesman, and the following morning he noticed that it was gone out of the car park.
God almighty.
And because it was a hired car, there was no shortage of fingerprints.
So your bike was written off, you were obviously traumatised, and you got €400. From a separate policy.
I had a little accident policy I had on myself.
Right, but if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have had anything.
Not a damn thing.
I find that incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. As to the e-scooters, I mean, it's not that long now since an 80-year-old woman was killed in Dublin by a fella driving, and I hate to say it, driving a stolen e-scooter.
Oh, for God's sake.
I know the regulations say they shouldn't be on the footpath.
Yeah.
But, I mean, how can you expect a 16-year-old not to use the footpath when adults are doing it?
Of course, yeah. And to be honest with you, they're extremely dangerous on the roads, because I know as a driver, I come across... Do you drive a lot, Paul?
I do. I drive a school bus.
Oh, you drive a school bus. Okay, so what's your experience of e-scooters then while you're driving the bus?
I hate them. Because this time of year, the problem of it all is they seem to have this strange notion that every driver has X-ray vision.
Yeah, yeah.
Because now, my daughter, I will say, my daughter has an e-scooter. But she has high vis that even has indicators on it.
Right. Okay.
So she can be seen. I've no problem with e-scooters on the road if you can be seen. But 90% of them, in my experience, you see a little red dot in front of you, and that's the taillight on it. And if you miss that, it's just pure blackness.
I know. And I see them on... I live in a very rural area, Paul, and I see them on the country roads very early in the morning, and they're absolutely deadly indeed. Do you know, just while I'm talking to you there, I just put it up on the screen about the Bureau of Insurance. I'm not sure about the advice you got. Do you know that? Because...
Well, it was a long time ago.
Okay, right. Because the Bureau, they handle compensation cases on behalf of blah, blah, blah. It should be no different than that of claims handled from any other insurance company. Do you know? So it should be like dealing with any insurance claim, you know. So.
It should be, but this is just the information I received from the solicitor time. You know, I don't know. I'm not calling you a lawyer, or obviously, to some degree, I'm questioning their mission statement. But maybe it has changed since. But that was my experience of it.
Well, it's a very interesting experience indeed. Paul, thank you so much for the chat this morning.
No problem at all.
Look after yourself on the road, and thank you. Bye-bye to you now.
Have a good day.
That's Paul, school bus driver there, and talking about his experience with the Bureau that we were referencing when I was speaking to Liam Moloney there. That's the Motor Insurance Bureau of Ireland. Now, we were speaking to Adi Roche about the legacy of Michael D Higgins, and Adi was very glowing in her description of him. One listener is not impressed by his presidency, and that's John, who joins me now. John, good morning to you.
Morning, Fran, how are you?
You won't miss Michael D, I gather, John.
No, I respect the fact that Adi Roche had a personal connection with both President Higgins and his wife, like, so that's between them. But I won't be missing him, right? And I was also kind of annoyed that the sanctuary runners were picked, to me again, more woke stuff again. Like, why wasn't the children, like, for scoliosis, why weren't they lined up? Like, why weren't the children, when the report came out yesterday, where there's children waiting 13 years for CAMS and for to be assessed for ADHD and other mental health issues, Fran, right? What about the 16,000 Irish homeless, of which 6,000 are children? Why weren't they lined up to say goodbye? No. This was handpicked as well. No. Look, you know...
Yeah, well, I'm just looking at the photograph, and it looks like it was sort of, like, not an organised thing. I think the car just pulled up, and Monica Pumpkin there, a member of the Sanctuary Runners, just happened to be there with flowers. I don't know how orchestrated it was.
They just happened to be passing at the time, was it?
Oh, you're being cynical on me now, John, are you? Well, I don't know who else was there, John. Maybe there was representation from other groupings. I don't know.
Well, if there was, I mean, it should have been highlighted. So that leads me to the would point in the direction that there wasn't. That this was just one group and one group only, right? I want to crying after President Higgins, because this is the man who broke his word to the Irish people. He did say at the start, and you were good memory, Fran, he said, I'm a one-term man.
Yes.
And then he decided he'd do a second term. Right now, the man has earned over nearly $2 million in a salary, right? He has a huge pension. If anything happens to him in the morning, which I don't wish him any harm health-wise, his wife will get half of that pension. You show me the truck driver that's driving from Cork to Dublin this morning, God forbid, has an accident on the road. How does his wife get looked after? And when he was president, he also wanted to go to Castro's funeral when Castro died, but the government wouldn't allow him. So, and rightly, because they weren't going to allow the president of Ireland to attend this person, Castro, who is oppressing his own people, and the regime still goes on. And by doing so, they would have insulted the United States of America, who's heavily invested in this country, right? And look, the way I look at this, I don't want to hear any more about Mr. Higgins. This is the man who lived in a 92-bedroom mansion in the Phoenix Park, who spoke out, Fran, about homelessness. Yet, not one Irish family on the 16,000 housing list was brought in. Not one Ukrainian family, not one migrant family was brought into the 92-bedroom mansion in the Irish in the Phoenix Park. So,
right, but did he not invite groupings of people, though, from all of the groups that you mentioned there? I mean, he quite often had special needs people in the Irish. He had carers in the Irish, and many other groupings indeed as well. I know he had people from the travelling community and wanting to speak
out and one of the most fundamental major topics now at the moment that's crucifying this country is the homelessness figures, right? And they're rising almost on a daily basis. And if you're the president of Ireland, and if you give the impression that you're speaking for all of us, right? Why not lead by example, right? And if you have a building which you occupy yourself and the wife and the staff, right, and 2 dogs, I mean, the thing is that you want to bring any family, Irish family or migrant family, or both, obviously, like, I mean, to balance it out, into that 92-bedroom building. I'm sorry, like, but there's something wrong there. I mean, I would be a total hypocrite if I was talking about homelessness, Fran, and I lived in a 20-bedroom mansion, like, and I was talking to you, and somebody rang in and said, John O'Donovan lives in a house where there's 20 rooms. Why the hell doesn't he bring somebody in to live with him?
Right, but I mean, I'm just thinking about the logistics of that. I mean, how would you choose the people that would be taken into the Áras? And I'm sure they'd be criticised over their choice on that as well. You know, how would you, from a security point of view, access to the Áras because he's head of state? There would be a lot of impediments to him. Well, and it would be just tokenism at the end of the day, wouldn't it, John?
The security end of it is probably laughable when you think the current person that's going to be sworn in today, I mean, and what happened with the person there, like, I mean, they had a conviction for guns and went to jail and everything, like, so that opens up another conversation. But as regards, look...
this is the lady she had working with her, but I mean, you know, she made the point herself, that was somebody who did their time for their actions.
To the glaring lapse of security, Fran. Like, I'm sorry, but when I heard all the coverage of this, the people that weren't kind of brought into the equation at all was the Gardaí. The Gardaí should be on top of this from day one. Like, this is a low grant for 6 months. This is the Irish Parliament. Like, you wouldn't get away with this in England. You wouldn't get away with in any government.
And could I put something to you, John, and I'd love your opinion on this. I mean, I didn't agree with everything that Michael D had to say, but he was a voice in the wilderness for peace. You know, in a world where it strikes me that everybody seems to be a warmonger in some way. I mean, he was a voice for peace, was he not? Within the constraints of what he was allowed to do as a president.
Some commenters believe, that he kind of breached the office, which I think he did as well, because it's purely ambassadorial. I mean,
the nice way of putting it is that he expanded the parameters. That's what we're told.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the thing is, I think, normally it's kind of seen and not heard. I mean, you're a high-class ambassador. That's really what you are. You shouldn't be injecting yourself into the daily politics. And if you are, then, as I say, getting back to the homeless thing, Fran, you lead by example. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're a hypocrite.
And do you think that Catherine Connolly will carry on the legacy of Michael D, or will it be a different kind of a presidency, or how do you...
Well, I suppose we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, I suppose he has led the way, by speaking out at times and getting away with it. Is she kind of going to do the same? But what I want to see now is, look...
But that's been going on since Mary Robinson, really, that sort of, pushing the parameters, has it not?
Yeah, well, what I want to see now is, look, I don't want to hear about Catherine Connolly for the next 7 years. And on the last year of her tenure, right, I want a referendum by the Irish people. And as I said previously to you, Fran, and I'm sticking by this, I think the overwhelming response for the Irish people would be to get rid of it.
Get rid of the presidency altogether?
Yeah, we don't need this.
Do you know, I don't think that would be the case with the Irish. I mean, we all thought that with the Senate when Enda tried to get rid of the Senate, and the Irish people spoke up and said, no, we want to hang on to the upper house.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, and they promised us, if you recall, at the time he was going to reform the Senate, which of course was never done.
No.
All it became as a rest home, like for people that lost their seats and they get it back again.
Mm-hmm. God, you're very cynical today, John. Are you all right?
Yes, probably the weather.
It must be indeed. Let me ask you a final question. Just reading today on the Indo that Jim Gavin will now not be taking part in the Fianna Fáil review of the presidential campaign. Many TDs I know, thinking that it won't answer some of the key questions anyway. Yeah. But what do you make of that?
Well, look, he's a private citizen, actually. He was picked by Micheál Martin, by one individual alone, who went on a solo run, and this is left the Fianna Fáil party in the state it's in today. But look, he doesn't have to attend, like, as I said, he's just a private citizen. No, he's not a member of Fianna Fáil, right? He was picked to run, but there's a big difference, right? So, like, he's quite within his rights not to turn up, I mean, this is another shambles, let's be honest. And just before I go, on the e-scooters there, they definitely should need licence, insurance and everything, Fran, because 4 years ago I was hit so hard by one of those in the one-way street. We're lucky to be having this conversation this morning.
Wow.
Yeah. And I suffer from post-traumatic stress since that 4 years ago.
Do you?
When I went I'm 100% on this up front. When I went to town now, I'm not at ease anymore. If I'm checking, even the green man comes up, I'm checking it about 4 or 5 times. I'm looking left, looking right, looking left, looking right. If I see even a flicker of a lorry passing, I kind of freeze up because I think, Christ, here's another one of those behind me. And I possibly will have that now for the rest of my life.
All right. John, we wish you well. Thanks for coming on with me, John. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And that's John speaking to us this morning. Listener says the Iris is the People's House and is run by the OPW, not the sitting president. The president is a temporary tenant and cannot decide to offer it up to homeless people. It's the job of the government to house people that are homeless, and it's on their watch that we have this housing emergency. I go along with what you're saying, but I think, wasn't it the late Bishop Willie Walsh in his palace down in, wasn't it County Clare, where he opened up the grounds of the palace to people from the travelling community with a great deal of generosity indeed, all those years ago. And, that would be church property and stuff. I don't know. Anyway, news and information's on the way.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat. Welcome back to the second hour of Tip Today. 1800 938 007. That's our free phone number if you want to speak to Ali. It won't cost you now. We have a statement in from Bernie SuperValue in Rossgrey, and let me bring it to you. It says we can confirm that Bernie SuperValue in Rossgrey is closed until further notice following the outbreak of a fire in the store overnight. Thankfully, nobody was injured as a result of the incident, and all the staff are safe. The fire has now been extinguished, and we're grateful to the emergency services for the swift response. We're currently working with the relevant authorities as part of an investigation to identify the specific cause of the fire, and we would like to express our gratitude to all of our customers and staff for their support. And I know Brian and the family extremely well over the years, so we wish them well where that is concerned. A wonderful, vibrant business there in Rossgrey, and doing a tremendous amount of good to local charities and the like too. Following on from my conversation with John about the presidency, a listener says the Phoenix Park is 1,750 acres. Plenty of room to put up modular homes to house the homeless Irish, and under the new rules, like other modular homes, no planning permission is required, says one of our listeners. Somebody else saying, oh no, not the OPW. Please, Fran, say it's not. Someone not impressed with the OPW. Brian was on to say, John is becoming more contrary by the day, Fran. The country is governed by injustice. Singling out President Higgins isn't fair. He is good, kind, peace-loving man and was a great president in my opinion. John needs to relax and meditate a little. And that's Brian there. I would imagine giving him advice like that is only going to annoy him even more and make him more contrary, as you put it, Brian. And a final one on the e-scooters. A listener says she's given me, or he or she has given me specific roads that they travel on. I just might leave that out for the moment. Anyway, it's a road into Cashel. Let's leave it at that. But this person travelling there into Cashel between 5 and 6 a.m. and somebody on an e-scooter with a seat on it, which I think is illegal anyway. Fluorescent jacket, small red light on the back is all that you can see if the mornings are fine. If anybody wants to overtake them, they wouldn't see the e-scooter until the last minute. Has no lights on the front. They should be banned off the roads during the hours of darkness. So that's some of the correspondence coming in to us. Now, the whole business of that lovely prize as well. Now is your time for texting, because in association with the friends at Carrigdon, their brand new store in the heart of Clonmel, ultimate destination store, I'm assured. Amazing exclusive ranges of ladies' fashion, jewellery, gifts, homeware, and the Christmas shop as well. We have another €50 Carrigdon gift card to give away today, and all you have to do is text or WhatsApp 083 311 3311. If you put Carrigdon on that along with your details, it gets you into our draw. Now, listeners to the programme are well aware that water supply issues are a recurring topic on the show. While Clonmel is frequently mentioned, it's by no means the only area affected. For instance, some households outside of Killinall in the Earlshill area, residents without water for a staggering 14 weeks. Now, the water deprivation has been going on for decades. Let's find out a bit more about it, because I'm joined in the studio by Derek O'Gorman, Noreen Dalton is with me, and Michael Nolan, and you're all welcome, and thanks for coming in to us today. Can I start with you on this, Derek, if you would, just to set the scene from Earlshill, outside about 5 miles from Killinall?
Yeah, Fran,
right?
Good morning. Yeah, it's about 5 miles outside Killinall, between Earlshill there, halfway between Ballingarry and Earlshill. So, and basically, just the issue is that for decades there's been water out just throughout the day, especially bad in the summer months. Low pressure all year round. Forces people to have to get, have water in buckets and buying water all the time to have it there for, because it's, as I said, the supply is unreliable, really.
And whatever about being unreliable, 14 weeks without water at all, is that right?
Yeah, some of the you could tell me.
Well,
yes, Michael.
My name is Michael Nolan, and I live with my wife up in Earlshill for a good number of years, and ever since I've moved there over 25 years ago, this problem has been there, but this summer was the worst of all, and it seems to have gotten particularly worse since Irish Water were set up. And like this summer, from from the beginning of May, every day, it used to go 8:30 in the morning, then maybe at 7:30 at night, that a trickle come back into the taps. But
it would be gone all day?
Yeah, all day, yeah. Now, it might come back the odd day during the week, but I stress the odd day, and it would be almost certainly gone every Saturday and Sunday, like, which are, family days, and it was an impossibility to put on washing. I had to put on washing at 12 o'clock in the night on several occasions, like.
So you had issues over decades, but it's worse now than it ever was. Is that
yes,
fair to say?
True, yeah.
Right, including up to 14 weeks with no water during the day.
Yeah, during the day, yeah.
It's incredible. And what about your experience of it, Noreen?
So I'm living in Earlshill for many years, and we have had issues since I suppose I've known, but yeah, particularly since May this year, things have got particularly worse. As Michael said, we have water in the night time, which we have residents up there that are getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do washing, and which is obviously a fire hazard having machines on.
Running through the night.
Running through the night because there's no water there. Now, we might have water, but it's not powerful enough for it to fill our tanks.
Right. Now, the classic question is, obviously you've complained about this, Derek. What reaction are you getting from Ishcairn or Irish Water?
Well, normally when you ring Ishcairn, so you can to alert it. Sometimes when we bring them up, they actually don't even know that there's an issue. They go and actually check on the website. Okay, so if there's a planned maintenance or that would be up on it. But a lot of the times when we ring, that they don't have any record of there being an issue until we ring first of all. So, and
what about getting through to them? How long does it take? Or
in fairness, getting through to them you can get through to them fairly quickly. Okay, they have a number there to get through to. They're a call centre. You do get through to them fairly quick there from that point of view. But it's just from once you make them aware of it, they do come back to you at the call centre, all right, and they do issue updates on what's happening. But a lot of times they don't know there is an issue there.
Right, but what is causing this? Have you gotten to grips with that?
From what the last correspondence from them really is, they talk about low reservoir, low supply in the reservoir, etc., and like that. And at the moment, like there's a tanker that drives up and down there 3 or 4 times a day to fill the reservoir. That's what's been going on for I don't know how long now, but it's going on for ages, for years. Yeah, there's an external provider bringing in the water in a tanker at the moment.
And Michael, are you getting any information that will lead you to believe that something is being done about this?
Very little. Very little. There's no real satisfaction. There's no promise of any solution. Now, you see, there is a borehole in the local area in Corbrook, and there's a water treatment plant there, and that was sufficient. That's there about 30 years maybe or more, and it was sufficient in the beginning, but with new houses and the pipeline being extended out further and further away, it's gotten worse and worse over the years.
Right.
They've tried to sink more wells, and they haven't come up with a well that would be strong enough, and that seems to be a funding problem, or either they're not doing it rightly. Right. Because there's plenty of good springs in the area that I'd say would supply.
Yeah, they drilled 2 new boreholes, and seemingly they're not meeting capacity. They're just basically supplying what's already.
So this is about the population of the local area increasing, Derek. Is that what's behind this, and the infrastructure just not able to cope?
Look, the infrastructure isn't there for decades. It's not been there, I think, and there's a lot of elderly people up there, and for them to get in touch with Irish Water, it's a bit, it's an ordeal for a lot of them up there. Even myself, even. Well, as I said, getting through to them is no problem, but I mean, once the water comes back at all, like as I said, ours is there's no pressure in ours, so I mean, it doesn't fill tanks half the time. You need to go up and check that the tank is full before you can be sure that you can have a shower. Yeah. And as I said, we constantly have to have water there, either buying it by bottle and then obviously you'd have to have it in buckets, so that if the water is gone altogether. As I said, it's unreliable because you go on to the website, you can't see gone unless we inform them, and it could be working away and just stop, or as I said, our pressure is low constantly.
Doreen, have you had public meetings about this? Have you?
Yes, we did. We recently had, actually with the help of our local councillor, Michael Brennan, and we had about 25 of the neighbours at my house to talk about this and to discuss it. obviously I know some of the issues, but that meeting really, opened my eyes of how people are really suffering up there,
And did anybody from Irish Water come to that meeting?
No, nobody came to that meeting from
Did you
Irish
invite
Water.
them?
No, we didn't invite them to that meeting, but I've had numerous calls. Obviously, myself and Derek have been making calls, from our house, and obviously other neighbours have been making constant calls, but there doesn't seem to be any joined up communication. When I ring, they're saying there's no issue, but I do know that Michael has already rang maybe a half an hour before me.
But when you ring, then it's like starting again, is it?
It's like starting again. Okay. Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah.
And I suppose we just have there's no answer. It's an ongoing issue. It's kind of like that's been an issue up there for years. Just get on with it. But and as Derek pointed out, there is vulnerable people up there, and actually the stories from that meeting, they were heartbreaking of what people are having to do.
Like what? Older people you're talking about, is it?
And dragging buckets. Now they have
flush toilets, buckets of water to flush toilets,
older people, people.
Myself, I'm doing it myself, and I have a health condition, and our mental health is worn out,
Tell me about that. What do you mean by just the stress of it all?
Exactly. Yes. Just I remember one morning getting up, and there was a lot of washing there, and 8 o'clock I turned on the tap, and it was good and strong, and I went in to get dressed and came back and said I'll put on the washing. Gone.
It was gone.
Gone, yeah.
Right. And do you get any notice of that?
No.
Do you ever get a notice ahead of time? Or,
no.
Or is it that it's happening so frequently that...
I think, sometimes it's like the Irish Water don't even know, because we had an issue 2 weeks ago that somebody did come to our house from Irish Water. Derek contacted them on the Sunday. We had no water, and they came Monday morning to say that we heard you had no water, and the reason was the man who brings that tankers the water from another area, he didn't realise that he actually was working on Sunday. That was what they told us.
So there's a mix-up.
There's a mix-up. So if we're not being tankered water, we don't have it, or the infrastructure isn't, we need new pipes because we're up on higher ground. It's not pumping up strong enough to us.
And Derek, similar issue in the Colebrook area. That's a few miles away from you, though. Is that it?
I think it's similar enough around there.
But is it all the same issue? Is it? Do you think
it's the same line?
It's the same line. It's going to be the same issue. Obviously, the infrastructure hasn't been updated there, and we are aware that probably there would be a lot of leaks maybe on it, and that's what Irish Water have said. Like there is leaks in the system, and that's could be draining the reservoir as well. What I mean.
And Councillor Michael Brennan, in fairness, has been bringing issues about water up on the programme all the time, as a lot of other representatives as well. But what is he telling you on this?
Well, he's getting the same updates from Irish Water at the moment, the same one I've got back to him. I got a letter here from them and back, and basically what it is, it's from what the feedback is, that the long-term plan is to rationalise the Colebrook Commons water supply.
What does that mean?
Rationalise it.
We don't know.
We're not even sure ourselves,
We don't know.
We don't know.
And they're just saying that's subject to funding and approvals in future investment. Now, future investment, I've asked, is there a time frame around that? Because, in Ireland, when it comes to investment in future, that could go on for quite a while, you know what I mean? And as I said, it's been going on for decades up where we are at the moment, and as Michael was saying, people with no water from May 2025.
So this is providing no comfort for you, Michael, obviously.
No.
When they say they're going to rationalise what? I mean,
exactly.
What does that mean?
I'm confused myself, You see, the problem is we can't get anybody responsible on the ground to talk to. Like before, when the council were responsible for the water, this issue has been going on for years and years, and we know there's leaks, and we have no problem with dry weather and the water being gone for a day here and there, or even a few days. But from the whole of May to September, gone every day from 8:30 until 11:30 at night, maybe. And you see, it's meeting. When the council were responsible, we knew the local men, and you could contact them, and they tried their best, and they had empathy with the people. But
tell me about that. So you're saying it's completely different now because you don't have people that you know. Is that it that you can approach?
Part of it.
Part of it is that.
Yeah. Like you phone that call line, like, and they'll say they'll check it out, and then they come back in 2 days and say, there is a problem with pressure, and there's no answer to say it is going to go away, like, or that this will be the end of it, because really.
Right. So Noreen, you're not seeing it. So, I mean, we talk about rationalising the situation. Yeah. I mean, the semantics of that, I have to work that one out. But you're not seeing anything at the end of the tunnel here,
and our fear is it's actually going to get worse because of, like, what we've been hearing in the media is that the council has actually gone away completely from Irish Water. They have no no remit,
no jurisdiction over that now,
with Irish Water now. So that leaves us in a worse situation than we were before. And like, look at we're a rural area, and there has been money put into other areas with Irish Water. We're aware of that, but
big investment in Clonmel, for example.
Big investment in
Clonmel. Even though there's still issues, but
and there's Kilnall, which is not far from us. There is works going on there at the moment as well. But I suppose we seem to be the forgotten people in Earlshill, and that's where we are.
Have there been a lot of new houses built in that area over the last while?
No,
I'm just wondering if this sudden influx of people is affecting
this. Not particularly,
no.
But I'll take you back to COVID times, and I work in healthcare, and at that time, it was a very, very stressful time, and my elderly parents, we live with my elderly parents, and at that time we were told to, we had to have a shower strip at the door, these things, and we had no water.
Good God.
So, and you can imagine the stress of that, of coming home.
We're all told about hygiene was so important.
Hygiene was so important. And I was ringing Irish Water at that time. And, when I have rang Irish Water, I've said to them, you can go back. They have everything on the computer about, calls from my area code. But here we are. Still.
Right. And we spoke about older people and vulnerable people, but young families as well. It must be a nightmare.
And we've young families, with special, children with special needs. We've had, we've people that have had cancer treatment, that one particular person needed to bathe every night. That was part of the treatment, and that person couldn't do that. They were having to leave their home and go to a relation to do that,
We built up a relationship on the programme with this, Karen, over the last while, and in fairness to them, they come to us every so often and they answer queries and they tend to listen to what goes on here. Michael, what are you saying to Irish Water now, today, here?
Can we get a resolution to this? Like, I don't want to have to face this again next year, like, because, as I say, I'm vulnerable, I have health issues. I don't want to have to be drawing buckets of water to we'll say, flush toilets next year, to be without water for 4 months.
So you're looking for a solution to that?
Can they get a diviner, come out, bore? There is areas in the locality where we know there could be good supplies of water, and just get a good diviner, go down deep enough and get a good supply. Because
it's interesting that you say that, because that comes up time and time again, Michael, is that they don't make use of local knowledge where a lot of this is concerned.
Yes, it appears to be, and there is good supplies. There is good areas around that will supply good springs. And
Derek, what would you say to Irish Water, Ishgaren, listening to us?
That's what we've been looking for. We've just been looking for a plan to try and resolve it.
And a time frame, as you said.
A time frame. So something, like I said, it's been going on long enough up there now. So look, it's just basically about what'll be done to fix this. Going forward. As I said, it's 2025 at this stage, so...
Roughly how many people are affected? Roughly, Doreen?
I'd say we're talking about 30 houses in the Earlshill area.
Right.
And how many people are living in those houses, I don't know. But there's definitely that amount that we reached out to, with our meeting,
right.
and obviously... you know, in that area, like there is, it is kind of, we're contacting Irish Water, we're doing emails. Like, it's very hard to expect the older, my parents are not able to do that. You know,
Sure.
They're not computer illiterate. But the other issue is that it's actually taking out of your time, you know, to make these calls, to do these emails. A lot of the information that's coming back is it's GDPR, we can't tell you this, and I'm saying, well, now they give you what to do next, but it doesn't seem to be getting us any place, and that's where we're
we'll look for a statement from them, and we look to talk to them specifically about your area, and we say, yes, Michael.
I just want to make one final point. You see, there's a slight factor of isolation here as well, because the people a half mile down the road have the water, like, you know, and they have it all the time, and you know, so like, it's because they're down lower, like, and it stays in the
It's
pipes.
just the geography of it,
yes,
yeah.
So you know, we feel just because we're up a bit higher and you know, we're isolated, we're forgotten about.
All right.
Really.
Well, let's see what we can get on it. But in the meantime, Derek, Noreen, and Michael, lovely to see you all today, and thanks very much indeed for coming into us. We'll take a break. We're back with more in just a moment.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, puck on. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Welcome back to Tip Today. Somebody pointing out the irony of having water issues when you look out the window and see the torrential rain that we've been having over the last while, but there you go. 083 311 3311. We are closing the lines on our Carrickdown competition right now, because we've had a huge entry into that, and we will announce the winner of the €50 voucher a little bit later on. Deirdre was on to say, Fran, it appears to me that Irish Water is overseeing a managed failure of the service right across the board. As we all know, the EU are demanding water charges at government level, and the only way I see this playing out is if people end up demanding improvements, resulting in the government telling us that the only way they can do this is to charge us all for water. Managed failure plus incompetence to deal with the issue. Says Deirdre on 083 311 3311. All right then, it is time for interior design, and glad to be joined by Karen Prendgast in the studio. Good morning to you, Karen.
Morning. I nearly swam in the road.
It's pretty bad out there, is it?
It is very wet, and it's very windy. The wind is blowing up as well, but I think we'll be in the clear by 5. But what can we do with the weather?
I know. We have no control
Only
over
stay safe.
Over it.
Stay safe on days like today, you know.
Whatsoever. Now, in a little while, I know you'll be talking about colours. So again, if people just have a pen handy for that, because
it will be handy, because I'm going to go through 4 different types of shading. So people love when I give out the colours, and they do try and friend. So a pen and paper would be handy.
Right, and just to remind them again that you'll give a particular name to each colour. If people Google the name, they will be able to see.
The colour will come up in a swatch. Yeah.
Working with an interior designer to sort of to create whatever the vision for your home is, Karen. What about that, and what about the input you have into the
I'll tell you why I wanted to address it today, because the majority of people that are ringing an interior designer, be it me or anybody else, but I can only speak for myself, most of those people, when they make the initial call, they haven't ever spoken to an interior designer before. The chances are 90% Fran haven't. They might be a little bit apprehensive.
Yeah.
They're unsure how it works. So normally I pick up the phone and they'd say, oh, Karen, you know, we heard you on with Fran, or we got you on your website or whatever, or Facebook or Instagram, and I'm unsure if you can help me. So I'd say, tell me what you're thinking of doing. You know, to take the fear out of it. Tell me what you're thinking of doing, and I'll tell you if I can help you. I can tell you what the process is like. So a lot of people, I would say, are apprehensive and a little bit unsure of how to approach me. So, I mean, it's important just to state that I mean, if I was ringing somebody and I wanted a job done for the first time that I'd never used that service before, I'd be apprehensive as well. I wouldn't be sure how to approach it.
So what happens then?
So I'm no different than any other service, really.
I get your number then from the programme or whatever. I ring Karen and I say, look, I want to sort of have a look at the general design of the house over again. It's been 30 years since we did anything. Where do I start? Is that a common question?
Yes,
where do I start?
Yes. So how does it work? Where do I start? So I would say to everybody, everything starts with a one-off consultation. So whether I'm going to your house and I'm laying down with colour charts and brochures and samples of floors or whatever, or whether you're going and you're thinking of pulling out your kitchen, pulling out your bathroom, knocking a wall in the house, building an extension, maybe revamping a whole house. So everything has to start with an initial consultation. So there's a cost for that initial consultation. That takes anything between an hour and an hour and a half. But I would already have spoken to the person that I'm going to their house in detail before I get there, so I'd be armed with what I need.
Sure.
I wouldn't be cold calling to the house as such. On that first initial call, they might book me. Most people book me there, and then they might go off and come back to me, and I'd say, okay, tell me what we're looking at. And also I always say to people, because sometimes when people look at the website, they think, oh, one room costs this much, another room costs this much. If you want 3 or 4 rooms, looks at it's 3 or 4 times the price. That's not the case at all.
Right.
So what I do is, for the amount of time that I go to the house, I'll help in any way I can. So they might bring me into another room. They might want their hallway and their sitting room done. Say, would there any chance you'd have a look in the bedrooms while I'm here? So I'm not mean with my information. I don't work like that.
So it's a general consultation.
It may be only for one room, Fran. No, to answer your question, it may be only for one room.
Yes.
But often people might be afraid to ask me to have a look in another room or anything like that. So it's not as strict as that.
I suppose.
It's time constrained as such, because if I was going to somebody at 11 o'clock and I was due into somebody else's house at 1 o'clock, well, I couldn't stay there for 3 hours because I'm on the road to the next job, But so everything and anything goes.
But tell me, why do I need you in the first place, if I can say that respectfully?
Of course you can.
Why do I need you?
The majority of people are spending X amount of money, be that €500, €1,000, 20,000, 100,000 or plus, okay? And they kind of know what they want. They do have an idea of what they like on Pinterest or Instagram or Facebook and the whole lot, but they're unsure how to put it together. And they're afraid of spending the money and making a mistake. So I suppose I remember when we used to be down in the old station on Saturday mornings. I did Saturday mornings there for years and years on a show there. And our biggest call throughout the years has been, I've bought something, mostly a suite of furniture for my house and it's too big. Can you come and help me? What can I do? I most certainly can go and try and help you and change things around in the room. But if it's very big in the beginning, it's very big, full stop. So there's definitely a fear of spending the money and not buying the right item, size, or maybe colour. Or a person maybe might be buying 5 or 6 or 7 different things in a room, items in a room, and they're afraid that if one of them is going to cost a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand, that one of them is going to be wrong and not work. So I think a big thing is spending the money incorrectly and buying something that doesn't suit.
So it would be better to chat to you before you make purchase.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because we've all done, well, I'm sure you haven't, but I mean, we bought a suite that was too big for the front room, and I can't believe that we did it.
But I mean, it's not it's not that anybody is going out to solely make a mistake and buy the wrong thing. But I always say that here with you. Bring the measurements to the room. They can be rough. They don't have to be perfect. You're not an interior designer or anybody listening. Bring a rough measurement to the room. Bring as many pictures as you can on your phone. Show it to the person in the shop. If the person in the shop doesn't ask, they might be busy. It's not that they won't help, but the more information you can bring with you, the more help you can get. And talk it out and and go through every aspect of it. Sit down in a suite of furniture if you're kind of down to one or two and you can't decide on which one. If you have to sit down in it 10 times each, if you have to lie down in it, because when I go in and I'm buying a suite of furniture and I'm doing up a sitting room or I'm doing up a living room or maybe the far end of a kitchen that is going to be couching, the first thing I'll say, and sometimes I have to approach it delicately enough. Do you lie down would you throw yourself down on the couch? I would say, not would you lie down, would you throw yourself down on the couch? Because I might. I said, and if I did, a 2-seater house couch is no good to me, so you need a 3-seater. Loads of people love L-shaped couches. Sometimes they don't work if more than 2 people want to throw themselves down. There's one on either end. So I'm always asking the question, well, how many people are going to be in this room at any one given time? If you throw yourself down the couch, forget a 2-seater, it's never going to work. It's going to have to be a 3-seater. You may need 2 3-seaters, not huge ones, but handy sized 3-seaters, and maybe a chair in the room as well. So it's not as simple as you get an interior designer and they go in and they come in with loads of colour charts and they help you with the colour and maybe help you with the floor. I've so many other questions to ask other than people are always thinking, I've 20 colour swatches up on the wall and I'm lost, I don't know what to do. I go in and I decipher the room, I ask a load of questions, I have a mooch around, I have a look. I'm going into that person's room or house for the first time, so I have a lot of questions to ask to make sure I give them the right.
I think one of the great fears that people have about approaching somebody like you is that we've been watching these programs on TV all the time and we've been watching these makeovers and some of them are absolutely ridiculous and we're afraid that you'll impose something on our home.
Yeah, and that's a really important point, and I suppose if somebody is checking out an interior designer, they can look at their website, they can look at their Facebook and Instagram, they have an idea of what way they work, you know, what their room, the before and after pictures looks like and the whole lot. But yeah, there is that little bit of crazy there, but I would be more a kind of classical style, as in if I'm doing something for a person, I would be hoping that there'd be a little bit longevity in it. They'll give you an instance for the minute. I have a couple that I'm doing a house for. I'm on it quite a long time now, maybe I'm there 8 months at the moment. Will be finished maybe in the springtime. But no matter what happens, they're getting an orange couch in their sitting room, and that's absolutely fine. But I'll make sure everything else in the house
they're
is
insisting on an orange.
And they want that, and I don't have any problem with that because they told me that earlier on in the job.
Right.
So instead of going for a very heavy colour in the kitchen, I've talked units, which is costing a lot of money, a lot more than couch. I've talked them back to a more neutral colour, but I'm giving them a colourful island unit, and I'm matching that island unit with their vanity unit in their main bathroom and their tiles. So the whole...
So there's a theme.
It's
somewhere.
not just... We're not just zoning in on the orange couch. With a heart and a half, they can have the orange couch, but I had to... work that into the design.
Into the overall.
So we had to hold back on the kitchen colour a little bit, and we worked back then from that orange couch through the whole house.
I can't help but be nosy. Why an orange couch?
Because she loves orange. Okay. She loves orange and she doesn't have a problem. And would you believe it, when we went looking for orange couches, they're 10 a penny. They mightn't be necessarily in the store, but the colour
is available.
Is it fabric or is in the swatches? Yeah, is available. So they were more than delighted to get me that they didn't end up maybe making other things in the house stand out. Do you understand me?
Yes.
That are costing a lot of money.
But are you saying to me as well, if you have something that's a very strong statement, you have to surround that maybe carefully, is that?
Yes, you're a little bit more low-key, a little bit more neutral, and I'm always of the opinion the likes of flooring, kitchen units, tiling, I believe they should be kept somewhat quite neutral, because if you go crazy with them, you're not taking out a kitchen anytime soon, you're not taking up tiles off the floor, you're not taking tiles off the wall. So I'm always quite what will I say, I'm steady.
Okay.
I'm steady. Okay. So by bringing me into a job, I might be steadying a person up. There could be confrontation in the house. This happens 80% of jobs. One person doesn't want to change certain things, the other person does. Maybe they don't want to paint the timber work that's in the house, or the kitchen units, or the pine stairs, or the mahogany stairs. The other person does. So I said, and I often say that, quite often I'm going in and I'm making helping them make a decision that there's a compromise on some items in the house.
Right.
And that could be down to spend too. So one person might want to spend an awful lot more than the other person. So then we might talk about budget. A lot of the time we don't talk about budget because there's no need, but sometimes we do, and I might often have to claw back a little bit, and we'll say, well, we'll spend the money here, but we'll spend less here, but our budget will stay the same.
Right, but you have to be pragmatic about the money, haven't you? You know,
it can run amok. Fran, very easy.
Very easy, I would
it can run amok,
indeed,
you know. So I'm always conscious of budget. I'm always conscious of a time frame. If we have to rip out a house or a bathroom or a kitchen, we could have somebody coming out of hospital there. I had a few weeks ago that we had to rip out a bathroom and get it ready and a bedroom immediately. That happened in 2 weeks' time. In 2 weeks, because we had to do it. But again, I had a time frame there to work with as opposed to a budget, and had to call in all the tradespeople and said, look, I'm on this job, I have this job, can you help me out? I need to get it done within 2 weeks, and we did. You know, so there's a lot of aspects to my job. It's just not it's just not colour, it's not just design. Often you're dealing with the personalities in the house, illness in the house, different things going on that you could come across all the time as an interior designer.
I suppose, I mean, if you had the kind of money, you could have Karen back every year and you could follow all the latest fashions and so. But did you say to me you prefer a classic look because there's longevity in
I
that?
do.
Is that it?
And I would have, and going back to that, I would have people that say to me through the years, because next year is my 30th year as an interior designer, you know, and I would have people that say, I'm going to do my kitchen, or I'm going to do my sitting room, I'm going to spare up then, and then I'm going to get you back in a year, I'm going to do my bedroom, then I'm going to do another room, and so forth. So I would have clients that would be getting me quite often, but they wouldn't do the whole lot together, you know, or they mightn't be in a position that a couple of rooms could be ripped up at the same time, and they might do one or two or whatever. So I mean, I think hiring an interior designer isn't necessarily about having a lot of money. It's about having a bit of cop on how you spend your money and make sure that the end product is what you wanted in the beginning.
Well, Karen, can you save me a few bob?
Yes. I'm wicked for wheeling and dealing. Okay. Every shop I go into, if anyone's listened that works in the shops, then I always ask for money off. And I have to say, friend, anybody that's had me as an interior designer, I'm the least mean person that you could hire. But I always try and look for a bit of a bargain and a banter. And to be honest, because I'm using the same shops all these years,
you have a relationship.
I don't get the discount, but the client will get the discount.
In the 30 years, what have you noticed? I mean, are people more adventurous now? Are they?
No, I don't think they're more adventurous. I think definitely what I've noticed, and we would have touched on this during the year, definitely what I've noticed is houses aren't as open plan as before.
Oh, I thought the opposite.
Yeah, I think they're not.
Are they going back to rooms?
I think they're going back a little bit more to rooms. I think that you're still getting plenty of glass, but not as much as we might see in some television programmes through the years. And I think people are definitely more budget conscious, and I say that with jobs that they could be spending a couple of 100,000 or whatever. People want to know what the cost is before they start the job.
Of course, yeah.
And that's where a lot of people fall down. If they don't have somebody costing, they don't know how much a job is going to cost, and it just spirals out of, say they think it's going to cost 5 for a bathroom, it ends up costing 8 or 10, and they're thinking the 5 would have done it, but they didn't do the homework first. So I think of all the things, houses aren't as open plan in the last 3 or 4 years. There's a little bit less glass. Everything is, people are thinking of energy when they're buying anything for the house now. They're thinking of energy efficient because electric bills are so big. And budget is big. Budget is huge, friend. Knowing the cost of what you're
It's interesting,
entailing.
But it has to be, and I'd be very strict about this, Karen, it has to be home though, hasn't it? You know, it's no good having this palace that neighbours go, oh, isn't that lovely? But it has to be home.
Look, I've done farmhouse lately, and there's a couple of dogs inside in it, and and a farmhouse as well, and they're coming into utility and straight into the kitchen. And I said, and we picked out a tile that looks like a timber floor. Yes. Absolutely fantastic for that house. But there was no way that I could have given him a porcelain tile or a shiny tile or a really modern tile, because it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have taken the wear and tear. Now that's the unglamorous side of talking about a floor, right? Back to the same thing. If you're buying a bed, it needs to be okay for the people or the person that you're buying the bed for, the same as the couch. If it doesn't work for you, I've gone into, I'd say, 3 jobs this year that I've had to take up tiles on floors, spang new tiles on floors that the people of the house couldn't keep or they were too skiddy. And I have had to go back in and get a tiler, take on the job and get a tiler to take up those tiles and put down new tiles.
Now, they probably looked wonderful in the shop.
They looked absolutely fantastic. Right. But 2 people, they couldn't keep them. Now, they weren't the same tile, obviously. 2 of them, they couldn't keep them. And one of them was too slippy and it was too dangerous. So there was money spent badly because it just wasn't investigated enough. They probably should have brought home a couple of tiles, put them down the floor, tested them out and the whole lot. Does that seem like a bit of hardship to you? Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Well,
to do that.
But it could save me a lot of money.
But it could save you a lot of money.
You have some colours with you. What have you got?
So what I've done is I've zoned them in this morning. I went into my box of that I never use, because these colour charts are the size of these colour charts are actually obsolete. So I went into all my spang new ones to bring them into this morning. So I have some neutrals, which are off whites, which are very good for the walls, but particularly timber work. Okay. And then I'm going to go into neutrals, greens and blues.
All right. So again, if you have a pencil or a pen with you on this, and if you Google the name that Karen gives out, you'll see
it'll come up in a colour swatch with the name.
Okay, so what have we got?
So the first one is Arctic Blonde. It's an off-white, super for timber work, for wardrobes in the bedroom, for a kitchen units or whatever. Great for a wall too, but a beautiful timber work colour.
It's warm, isn't it?
It is warm. It's Arctic Blonde.
Okay.
The second one I have is Alabaster White. Again, different to the first one. A little bit more yellow in it, would you say? Even though it's not yellow, but a little bit more of a golden tone in it.
Not quite as bright, maybe.
Not quite as bright. Alabaster White.
Okay.
Our next one, actually done a kitchen up the west in this lately. It's called Milk Teat.
Okay. And again, how would you describe that again?
I would say
it's a white as well,
it's an off-white with a little bit of cream in it, whereas the alabaster white I thought was a little bit of golden in it. So it's an off-white and it's called Milk Teat. Lovely colour for kitchen units particularly. The next colour then is... I'm going into the neutrals, is Temperance. I've spoken about this colour all year long. In my own house at the moment now, I've got all my bookcases done in Temperance. But that's in satinwood or eggshell. So if you're going to be doing timber work in any of these colours, it's a satinwood or eggshell finish you're looking for. But I also done the walls in it, Fran.
Right, and how would you describe Temperance?
I would say there's a hint of grey in it. Okay. So it's an off-white with a tiny hint of grey in it, but not very much.
Okay.
The next one then it's a beautiful colour.
It's gorgeous,
I can see a little hint of green in this. It's called Watch House.
Watch House, okay.
Yeah. Stunning colour.
Okay. Will people be able to see this on your social media as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Watch House.
They're not up because I decided to do this last minute this morning, but they will be up tomorrow. The next one, beautiful rich colour for kitchen units, wardrobes, built-in units in your sitting room. It's one of the colours that you can get in the kitchen shops. Ivory Tusk.
Okay.
Stunning.
That is a beautiful colour already.
Nice and rich, but
Ivory
still quite pale.
Yeah.
Next one, a beautiful green. Spinifex. Spinifix. So that's Spinifex. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
And, on the same lines as the Ivory Tusk, but much darker.
Right, okay. We just have about 20 seconds left if you want
Portland
to just choose. Portland, you often mention that, yeah.
Palmhouse Fountain.
Okay, what is that? Is that a green as well?
Green.
Yeah.
Storehouse, another green.
Oh,
new colour out.
That's
beautiful.
Lovely, isn't it? Yeah.
Little Egret, Littleegret.
What is that?
Grey.
Grey, okay.
Morning mist, very light, very, very light blue.
Oh, this
and
one I
one
love.
of my favourite colours on my Instagram and everything, you'll see a sitting room done in this colour. Dragonfly wing.
Oh, it's beautiful,
Stunning.
isn't it? Yeah. How describe that for me now?
It's a medium blue.
A medium blue, yeah. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Very rich.
Real atmospheric.
A kind of a royal colour.
Yeah, okay. Very, very nice indeed. If people want to talk to you, Karen,
They can contact me on 086 606 9009. Interior Concepts on Facebook, Instagram, and my website is Interior Concepts as well.
very good. And before I let you go, somebody wants to know, do you know anybody who does upholstery for couches and chairs? You needn't give me a number,
Yeah.
but if people want to make contact,
if they want to make
you
contact
do.
me, I'll give them the details.
Okay, yeah. Do you believe in that notion, by the way,
Yes.
of reupholstering, I suppose? And
I have 4 Queen Anne's and a huge 3-seater sofa. They cost a lot of money. I got them recovered 6 years ago. They almost cost the same money to get them recovered again, but the couches were handmade in Ireland. I wasn't going to throw them away. So is a good upholstery job worth the money? Yes, but it is expensive, but it's worth it.
Okay, good to see you, Karen. Thanks very much. Did you give out your number? You did?
I did,
Okay. Thanks, Karen. We'll take a break.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tip today on 1800 938 007. Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puckon. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat. Welcome back to the final hour of Tip Today. We were speaking to some residents of Earlshill outside of Killinall about their water issues in the previous hour of the programme. And one listener, Edwin, on to say, Fran, I'm a resident of Earlshill, and being without a proper water supply since May, it's hard on the mental health. Irish Water has the same response when contacted. No issues in the area when residents know that pipework needs to be replaced and leaks need to be fixed. It's gone on for too long now. A solution to the problem needs to be sorted, says one of our listeners, says Edwin to us today. Fran, if you're contacting Irish Water, could you ask them when is the boil water notice for Knockloftly Ardfinnan expected to be lifted? It's been in place for about 2 months now, and we have no idea when it's going to end. It's costing us a fortune in electricity. And speaking of electricity, reading today in the newspapers that a rising living cost driving more households into debt and delayed debt indeed to fund Christmas this year, with financial experts urging people to budget and to borrow wisely if needed. Now, last year 1 in 5 consumers borrowed money to cover festive costs, according to the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. The average amount borrowed by a Christmas spender was €631. This equated to the average household in Ireland spending about €1,200 on gifts, foods and socialising. Price comparison website bonkers.ie reported. But the continued rise in food and energy costs, along with, of course, the removal of the cost of living support measures in the recent budget, is predicted to boost borrowing numbers this year. So there you go. That's what we have to look forward to. We'd love to hear your experience of the cost of living. How difficult is it for you? And indeed, how difficult will Christmas be as well? And we'd love to hear from you on that, because we'll be addressing that over the coming days and weeks. So 083 311 3311. It's time for this.
For every problem, there's a solution. Dear Phil on Tip Today with Phil Prendergast.
Good morning, Phil. How are you?
Very well, Fran. How are you today?
I'm well, but I know you have lots of good advice waiting.
I don't know if it's good now, Fran, but certainly some of the problems in today's lineup are interesting, to say the least.
Aren't they? Let's go with the first one then. Dear Phil, I've lived in my house for 6 years now, and I love my house and my neighbourhood. My issues is that we are due to have a new neighbour in the coming weeks, and I am dreading it. She is a lady I know from community groups around the area, and while I smile and nod and let on we get on fine, I can't stand her. She's nosy, rude, and a pain in the backside. She told me recently that she has purchased a house for sale right beside me and is due to move in a few weeks' time. My initial reaction, honestly, was to smile and say, great, while inside I was plotting how I could burn the house down or sell my own. My husband says I'm overreacting. Well, just a little maybe. But I'm really dreading this woman moving in. I know she will be in over the gate every day looking for gossip. And I hate that she'll know all of our business. I always loved where I live, but I feel now it's been spoiled for me. Am I overthinking this?
I don't think she's overthinking it, but I do think she's overreacting a bit because she knows this woman through a community group, as she stated, and she knows she's nosy, rude and a pain in the butt. What I would say to her is, you know, she said her initial reaction was to smile and say, great. And she was plotting, doing all what she was thinking and how she was reacting to this impending thing. She needs to be very clear from the get-go. If it was me, I saw the woman leaving her house or coming towards me at all, I'd put on my coat, my hat, even if it was high summer, and tear out the door and say, I'm just off for a walk. I hope you're settling in. Good luck, and keep going. And just be very brief, keep everything very clear, keep clear lines, don't let her pass the door because it'll become a thing, and just don't foster a very strong relationship with her. Now,
so make it clear right from the start,
from the get-go, because if she is going to, you know, if she says, I know she will be in over the gate every day looking for gossip, and I hate that she'll know all our business. Why would you tell her any of your business whatsoever? In fact, why would you even tell her I'm going for a walk? I would just be walking out the door, going for a walk, and if she stopped to say hello or say, I'm on my way somewhere, hope everything is okay, and keep going.
But some people might find that very hard, Phil, because, you know, this person sounds like a lovely woman. She's friendly, she's smiley, all of that. She'll find it hard to do that, I would imagine.
No, she will find it hard, but she'll find it even harder if this woman gets into her house and then is able to extract all the information so the woman knows everything about them. And some people do not like that in their house. And they're like, I think years ago, Fran, was probably different because you would go to next door neighbours and it wasn't an unusual thing. In fact, we were all reared on the street. It was just you were in someone's house and you were safe. Or you were across in the laneway playing dress up with fancy dresses, and I don't know whose dresses we even had, but anyway, it didn't matter. But I think this woman is just trying to lay off some sort of an expectation that she's going to be able to have coffee with this woman in her house and have all sorts. Now, she can be overreacting as well. The woman could be very, very nice, but she said, I know her from the community groups, and while I smile and nod and let on, we get on fine, I can't stand her. She is nosy, she's rude, and she's a pain in a part of her enmity.
So start off as you mean to go on. Start
off and limit the exposure to this, because otherwise she's going to be just mitered, and there's no point being mitered in this world, Fran. You don't have to be mitered.
That's for sure, Phil, that's for sure. Our second letter today, dear Phil, my husband and I went to visit his mum for dinner, and while we got on okay, there's always been a bit of tension between us, and I feel we don't really like each other. When we arrived at the door, we had to wait a minute or so because I presumed she got delayed. When she answered, she was quite cooler than normal anyway. I couldn't figure it out, but just put it down to her having a bad day. She called my husband that night and said she was very upset by what I said at the door. I remembered while standing at the door that I was giving out about how long we'd have to stay and said we'll get dinner on the way home because the food is always shite. Unknowns to me, it was all caught on the Ring doorbell camera. I was mortified. Don't get me wrong, I meant what I said, but I just didn't mean for her to hear it. I've sent flowers and a card to apologise, but I think I may have damaged our already fragile relationship beyond repair. What should I do? Now, these door camera things.
Yeah. They're very, very fine, aren't they? Very, very,
Oh, yeah.
Look, she really made a faux pas here. She absolutely did, and it's very upsetting if you think your son's partner thinks that you're a woeful cook and you don't really want to go there. It was silly to say it, and it particularly one or both of them should have known exactly what kind of a doorbell this was.
I know.
You know, I mean, they're very obvious. she's imagine having to say we'll get dinner on the way home because the food is always
all the embarrassment.
But, I think she has tried to make amends. She said she sent her flowers and a card to apologise, and she thinks she may have damaged the fragile relationship beyond repair. I don't think it is damaged beyond repair. I do think that maybe in the future the husband might go to his mother's and have a nice dinner there, and she'll stay at home out of embarrassment until she gets over it. Eventually they're going to work through this. It's a silly thing to have done on her behalf. It's never nice to start dissing someone's food or invitation before you even see what it is, and it wouldn't have done any harm at all if even the woman had respect for her own husband by not saying things about his mother like that in front of him, because that wasn't nice either.
Yeah, because I do feel for the mother. I mean,
yeah, I do too.
You know, I mean, she might have been doing her best with the food. She mightn't be Doreen Allen, but, you know.
But I mean, obviously, her daughter-in-law must be an amazing cook if she can say things like that about her mother-in-law.
Herself up like
so
that,
do you know what I mean? It's just not nice. But I think that people need to have an awareness now that we are on camera practically everywhere we go. We're on the street cameras, we're on cameras from shops, we're on cameras from doorbells, we're on cameras. I would hate to be canvassing nowadays, because, well, most people anyway, as long as they don't have any of this no canvassers and all the notices that we used to see around the place. People don't want to be disturbed at home, really, but you need to have an awareness about modern technology and the ability to have anything you say actually printed out.
It's everywhere.
It's
everywhere.
deadly.
And it's not just on filming. I mean, the audio is there all the time as well.
Exactly.
You know?
And there's a feature on that lets you, you can keep recording it and keep recording, or you keep it and you keep it. And there can be all sorts of mischief done online with that as well. So this was a silly thing for the wife of the...
But it is a cautionary tale to people listening. I mean, be careful of these things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, our final letter. Dear Phil, my husband has been a local car dealer for a number of years, and while I've never gotten involved in the business, I always appreciated that he provided a good living for us. But some comments from people in recent months have made me wonder. I met a lady I know fairly well who commented that her son had just bought a car for my husband, and it was his first car that he had saved hard for. I said I was delighted and I hope it all goes well. The woman replied that it's been in the garage since the week after he got it, and then said, "Sure, I should have known better. Your husband is known for it." The remark really caught me off guard, and I mentioned it to my husband, who fobbed it off. I asked a good friend of mine about it, and she said sheepishly that he does have a reputation for selling dodgy cars and ripping people off. I am mortified. I've been walking around this place for years thinking my husband was a good, honest businessman, and what's worse, provided a good living for us by ripping off people. My husband insists it's just one or two bitter people who had a bad experience that spread the word, but I don't know what to do about it. Please help.
It's very upsetting, isn't it now? That's truly upsetting. First of all, the car that has gone into the garage since the young fella got it, that car should be under warranty and that should be honoured. So he shouldn't be covering any cost
of any second-hand car. You see, it depends.
Yeah, but they still would come with a warranty, Fran. So there should be some means of being able to, going in and paying money out for a vehicle and then finding that it's unfit for use. That's really, really bad practice. So I think the reputational damage the husband of this woman is doing is phenomenal. That there will be, I think his good living that he's providing for the family here is going to be very, very damaged, because you only need a couple of people to say, well, so-and-so got a car and then was in the garage for the whole, it's still not fixed. So, you either stand over honest dealings or you don't do them at all. And I do think that when people get the idea about somebody not being particularly good, when you have people saying things like this back, that, she said he does have a reputation for selling dodgy cars and ripping people off. This is just not a good, honest man. And he's not a good, honest person that you should consider buying your vehicles from. And I think the reputational damage here is phenomenal, because something like this, and especially when it starts off a conversation, and when the conversation then is on public radio, it's certainly going to get back that he's doing wrong and has done wrong, and it's very damaging.
I don't mean to dish the woman who wrote to us, but is she a little bit naive that she didn't know that this was going on, or that she didn't know the nature of his business and how he does his business?
Yeah, because sometimes, Fran, you don't know about things until you're actually in the process of being involved in it, or experiencing it, or have one other person coming and saying, you know, he sold a dodgy car to the young fellow up the road as well, and that never worked, and he wouldn't replace her, he wouldn't. You know, he wanted to charge him, and he had charged him a lot, and they took out loans, and these young fellas don't have money like that. In fact, neither do the parents. But it's just that if somebody is involved in shoddy practices, they should be called out, and the only way that you can call these people out is you either make good the badness you've done to somebody, or you stop doing that business, because the business will be stopped, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, but obviously it's going on for some time if he has this reputation, because it's not just in the case of the young lad. I mean, it seems he has a reputation for selling dodgy cars anyway, you know. So will a leopard change their spots, I suppose?
Well, the leopard mightn't change his spots, but the leopard might feck off. I wouldn't go to a dealer that I had heard had a bad reputation, because it's really unfair. I know what it's like, even if somebody is paying, I don't know what, we'll take a figure, say $8,000 for a car. The car would come with a full NCT, and everything should be absolutely tight across that. So if the car hasn't a full NCT, or if the man gives a full NCT and there was something found to be wrong with the car, I would then go to the NCT and get them to check out the car, and you'd come back to the man and say, I want my money back, you can take back your car. I mean, I would up this to a legal process. I would, Fran, because I think it's a horrendous thing to do. There's not only the issue about the moral wrongness of this, it's the danger of getting a young fella into a car that is not fit for road usage.
And where the wife is concerned then, because she says, please help, is there much she can do? I mean, if this is your man's nature, though, how does she change?
How did she not know?
Well, that's the point of it.
How did she not know? He's provided a good living for us on the basis of selling dodgy cars. And giving them to young fellas that aren't fit for road purposes.
Right, so you're taking this very seriously.
I would take it extremely serious, because I think that you can't afford to make a good living off the back of being dishonest and being a dishonest dealer. You have to be an honest broker.
Right, but what can she do about this?
She's going to have to recognise that her husband is not a good person in relation to the danger he exposes. Would I like one of my young fellas to have been exposed to a shoddy dealer? No, or would you like it for your...
Not at all.
Nobody likes that. And really and truly, cars, when they're being bought second-hand like that, if somebody had a reputation as being any bit dodgy, you're not going to go and buy a car from them.
Very good. So she needs a conversation?
She needs a conversation, and she also needs to, he's been a local car dealer for a number of years.
Yeah.
And the woman that's married to him was never involved in that business. But, how would you not know? She said it's recent months. Maybe he has deteriorated recently and maybe he's not able to manage things as clearly. And maybe that's why it's only coming to light now. But she should have a talk with her husband saying, look, very bad reputation around the place. People are really talking about you. I think your business is going to be really badly affected. Can you start making sure the cars are done properly?
Phil, always a pleasure. Thanks very much
Fran.
indeed. And if you have something you would like to have Phil look at, all you have to do is email tiptoday@tipfm.com. If you put Dear Phil in the subject bar, we'll know what you're at.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long-wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie. Come.
Tip FM's Tip Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Well, there's been a lot of rain around Tipperary and the counties in the south of the country over the last 12 hours or so, and the status yellow rain warning is still in place. Cathal Nolan from Ireland's Weather Channel joins me now. Cathal, good morning to you.
A very good morning, Fran.
Very heavy rain indeed, almost biblical here in Tipperary for sure. What's happening out there, Cathal?
Well, at the moment, there's an area of low pressure situated just to the southwest of the country. That's where the centre of the low is, but it is throwing up these associated bands of rain from the south. And we have a very active cold front situated across the country at the moment. So that's why we're seeing these particularly heavy falls of rain over the last number of hours, as you mentioned, and indeed for a number of hours still to come this afternoon. Now, it will thankfully clear away into this evening and it's through tonight, which is good news because there is the possibility of an aurora display also tonight, so something certainly to keep an eye out for. But overall, I suppose, back in terms of the weather on the ground, it is very much an unsettled picture as we go through the remainder of the week as well, with further heavy falls of rain likely both tomorrow evening and also again in particular on Friday.
Is it related in any way to the extreme events across the world? I'm thinking of what's happening in the Philippines and the various different storms. Is it related in some way?
I suppose, in a sense, really kind of all meteorological events in one way, shape or another have an impact in terms of what happens on the other side of the world. Let's say it's almost back to that kind of the age-old saying, if a butterfly flaps its wings on one side of the world, will it lead to an earthquake on the other? I suppose in one regard they are, but in another sense, I suppose it's very much different weather conditions that are happening across parts of East Asia at the moment, of course, with the typhoon that's been impacting certain parts of that particular region, and of course the very unsettled conditions we've seen, I suppose, well above average rainfall really for the month of October and also continuing on now so far for the month of November. It's been incessant in many cases, and we certainly are seeing that reflected in the river levels across the region as well at the moment.
I get most of my weather information from my local Centra. In the mornings we all discuss the weather, but somebody was telling me, are we expecting a lot of cold weather as well, Carl?
We certainly are, yes. Look, at the weather models have started to firm up on this idea over the last couple of days, but we're pretty confident now that from Sunday onwards we'll see a change in our weather. We lose the southerly winds. They initially switch around to a northeasterly and then a northerly direction as we go through next week. So we will see drier, brighter conditions by day, with highs no better than about 5 to 7 degrees Celsius, but with some pleasant sunshine. But nighttime temperatures will dip well below freezing, down to -2 to -4 degrees Celsius across the county as we go through most of the nights next week, certainly so during the working week. So with that, we will be confident in saying that we are seeing the first cold spell of this winter season approaching.
It's going to be interesting. And the year so far, Cathal, has it been outstanding weather-wise in any way?
I think from my perspective, what I've observed at least so far is that the weather this year it's been quite seasonal, I think, in what we've seen, in that we got quite nice summer conditions. We had a little bit of snow and certainly some stormy conditions through the winter periods, obviously the start of January and February in particular with Storm Éowyn, and subsequently then for autumn we've had, I suppose, dry conditions initially to start with, but we've certainly seen our conditions become more unsettled as time has gone on. It's been a particularly warm year, I would say, overall. Certainly summer conditions were above average in terms of temperatures, and certainly the autumn so far has been particularly mild. That is likely to change, and I think we are going to see again more seasonal conditions as we go into the end of November, and in particular we're paying close attention to what will happen in December. A lot of the longer term trends that we look for when trying to identify seasonal forecasts are pointing towards a colder period in December. So certainly that would be, I suppose, welcome in terms of getting temperatures back towards what they should be for the time of the year. However, they could very much swing the other way and go below average, looking at some of those telltale signs at the moment.
Is it frustrating every year that we all ask you about December and we ask you about Christmas every single time? I mean, you can't possibly know. I mean, is that fair to say?
I think as meteorologists, we know what we're in for when we sign up for this gig. And I think this question is always going to come up. It goes back, I suppose, to Charles Dickens in 1814 and 1815. When he was a boy, he was growing up in London at a period in time where there was particularly cold winters. And I think the imagery that obviously that he grew up with is very much found in his writings, obviously, in terms of A Christmas Carol, of course, one of his most famous works. And from that, really, I suppose, with the hallmark kind of picture that we envisage at this time of the year going into the festive period is of the potential for a white Christmas. It's difficult to say, of course, in terms of long-term forecasts. We're really looking for kind of trends and percentages as to whether it's higher or lower than normal, the possibility of seeing these conditions at Christmas. At the moment, I would say that we have a higher chance than average of seeing what we would classify as a white Christmas. We'd probably settle for a cold, frosty one, to be honest.
It's interesting, and you're saying to me in the time of Dickens, they were particularly cold. That's very interesting. So he just reflected what was around him in his books then, I guess, in the 1800s.
Essentially, I suppose, in a way, we're all products of our environment that we grew up in, and no different for Charles Dickens back in London at that period of time. I think it was in relation to 1814. There was a particularly strong volcanic eruption of Mount Pinatubo, I think, at that time, and subsequently we had what's called a volcanic winter for the subsequent winter and second one thereafter, whereby we released so much kind of sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere and so much dust and particles that a lot of the sunlight is reflected back out to space, and it can cause chaos in terms of global weather patterns for a period of a couple of years. And that led to particularly cold winters at the time that he was a child, and subsequently led to the inspiration, I think, in many ways, for his later works.
You're a mine of information. Isn't that extremely interesting indeed? To get back to our own trials and tribulations then, I guess the big issue is the flooding on the roads, and we've been hearing a lot about that this morning. So great care needs to be taken, Cathal.
It certainly is. There's a lot of excess water on the roads this morning, and I suppose with the forecast as well for the next couple of days, the advice is certainly to take it easy on the roads. Give yourself that extra little bit of time for journeys, and keep that extra little bit of distance between yourself and the car in front of you. Braking distances, of course, are impacted greatly when we have such wet conditions and visibility being so poor as well. In particular, with regards to the flooding, do pay attention to the forecast coming into Friday. There is again the likelihood of some very heavy falls of rain, and coming off the back of last night's and this morning's rain, we do have some concerns about what could occur. Areas that are prone to flooding in particular, just keep up to date with the forecast would be our advice.
Cathal, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for your time this morning. Thank you. Good morning to you now. That's Cathal Nolan there of Ireland's Weather Channel. 1800 938 007. The text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. Listener says, following on from one of the Dear Phil letters there, as I was buying my first car, I said up front to the garage owner, "You're a right-looking gangster." His reply was, "I am a gangster. You wouldn't survive in this business if you were not." All right, we'll take a break. Back in just a moment. I'll tell you what, before the break, let's go to a caller, because we were speaking to some residents of Earlshill this morning about the issues with water that they've been forced to endure over a long period of time. Indeed, one listener knows exactly how they feel, and that's Michael, who has spoken to us on the show about a leak on his land that he's tried everything to get sorted. He joins me now. Michael, good morning to you.
Good morning, Fran. You're dealing with a lot of watery topics this morning, so I decided I'd join in the fun.
Well, we're delighted to have you, Michael. Well, first of all, any resolution to that leak on your land?
No, the story goes on, Fran, endlessly. I actually rang Irish Water myself. As you know, I've been talking to you about it on a number of occasions, and Matthew McGrath's office were doing their best for me. But I asked, when I got through to the people in Irish Water, I asked them, would they ever mind writing a letter to me this time, not to my public representative, he has better things to be doing than dealing with Irish Water in any event, explaining why they have decided not to fix the leak outside my farm, if you like, because I've reported it there 9 months ago now, and the leak could be there for 12, as you can imagine, because there's no animals in the field, so on. And I was awaiting this letter anyway the other day, and I got a phone call from a guy, and he said they did attempt to fix the leak one day, which I understood the leak was fixed then, because there was disturbance on the grass margin, if you like. And when I investigated afterwards, the leak was still there. So in any event, he said that the reason that they went about fixing the leak one day, and because there was no water in the pipe, they couldn't identify where the leak was. So they just filled in the hole again and went away.
Good God.
So, Fran, if you were to write a script for Kilnascully, you couldn't.
No, and if you saw a script like it, you'd probably say, "No, that's not believable. Let's not use that. That's not believable." But this is the reality. By the way,
I'm beginning to believe now how ridiculous the Irish Water Organisation is. It's not the people that came to fix the leak. It's not and they have been here on 2 occasions. It's not the people that came to identify where the leak was. It's the management structure in the organisation. Like, it must be shocking. Like,
just remind people about the leak. I mean, how extensive is it, Michael? Just to remind our listeners.
Well, to be quite honest about it, talking about the weather and the wet weather now and the dry weather during the summer, wasn't that bad, other than the fact that I was aware that there was a leak in the field, and then the cattle started drinking out of the little pond that was being created. And I turned off there's 2 tanks in the same field actually, and I turned off the water supply into the tanks, and the cattle they were drinking free water all the summer there. But now, like, the fact that the weather has got wet and the field is noticeably flat actually almost, and I have field drains in it in order to take off surplus water, it's becoming more noticeable now. But, I have organised a digger to come in now and dig a drain into one of the existing field drains in the field to make sure that all the water can get away without doing too much more damage than has been done.
But that's almost accepting, Michael, that the leak is going to continue, so you've made a contingency plan, really, to get rid of the water,
exactly,
isn't it?
Yeah. It can, like, as I said to them, I don't mind if you never fix the leak. It's no big deal for me to solve the problem on my side of the fence, I said, but I said it seems to be an awful problem for you to solve it on your side, because I said, no, the water's been pumped out of the ground over in Munro or Powerstown or wherever it's coming from, and it's leaked out of the pipe here, and it's gone back into the ground here now again. And we'll continue to do so until they fix it.
And I mean, I know you don't mind, but the waste of water, Michael, is colossal.
You see, Fran, I felt sorry for that man who was speaking there this morning on your show about the difficulty, especially in the house. Like, I mean, lucky enough now on my land here now there is running water as well. Now we're not supposed to let animals into the stream, but in the event of there be no water in the water tanks, that's what will be done. Like, but I mean, I felt really sorry for that man this morning. My heart went out to him actually. But sure, how could, say, I assume he's living on sort of high ground, if you like.
He is.
But, I mean, if there was a leak on the way up to his place, sure, all the water would be leaking out before it would get as far as him, like. As the saying goes, water finds its own level, doesn't it?
It does. And is it any excuse to you, Michael, when you hear, well, look, the infrastructure is in tatters, they're trying their best, they're trying to get on top of this, there's a lot of money being invested in it, but, I mean, it's a slow-moving process. Does that ring a bell with you? Does that mean anything to you?
No, because as I said on your show already, Fran, they're attracting, they're going all over the world trying to attract big businesses here. But, like, that's all very fine, and they come and they might set up, and they're not aware of the infrastructure, apart from the water, like. I mean, every aspect of Irish infrastructure at the minute, the infrastructure that is there is not adequate to supply the growing economy. And as well as that, then the infrastructure is dilapidated and needs to be replaced, like. I mean, if you're managing a farm, you would realise, like, that every 40, 50 years, like, everything that you would have built or constructed, let it be water pipes, electricity, sheds, they would all need to be upgraded or replaced, like. But that doesn't seem to be taken into consideration when the government, the people that run the country, are managing the business at all. Like, I mean, the whole health service, every aspect of Irish infrastructure is in a chronic situation at the minute.
And this is due to successive governments, because this is going back a long time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I have a funny suspicion that the reason Phil Hogan set up Irish Water was with the intention of privatising Irish Water, then that some big investment company, as they call them, vulture fund, if you like to call it that as well, would come and take over the whole water business in Ireland. But you've seen what happened in England then, all the water systems that have been privatised, they're in a worse situation as well, because those big companies are only interested in making money. They don't give a damn whether there's water leaks or people have water or whether it's clean or whatever. But I mean, I don't know, Fran.
Even though to people like our friends from Earlshill this morning, you know, if they thought that privatising something would make sure that they have proper water, I'm sure they'd all go for it, you know?
They would, but I mean, you know, just look overseas and see what's happening.
Yeah, it hasn't worked out at all. It hasn't worked out at all, indeed. Yeah, it's interesting.
And of course, you know, just to bring it to your attention, Fran, I remember back years ago, there was the water was turned off, the supply for some reason or other, and all the water was coming down off it, leaving them on at the time. Lovely lime-free water, if you like to call it that. It's lovely soft water. And then when it was turned on again, some household, when he turned on the tap, the pure slurry came out of the tap. And he complained about it, and the rumour went around then that there wasn't social media at the time, so the rumour didn't move around as fast as it would now, but there's too many sheep on the hill and on the mountain, like, and the sheep excrements were causing all the dirty water. So I contacted my neighbour who has sheep on the hill. I knew he had sheep on the hill, and he made him aware of the fact, because basically the finger was being pointed at him, and I told him, and he said there was never less sheep on the mountain. And I said, well, you better get on your bike and go. And I think he went on your show, or maybe Seamus Martin or whatever was doing at the time, to explain that situation. But what happened, Fran, was there was a water pipe on a farm, as I understand it, that was disconnected from the water truck, and it was down in the puddle. So when the water supply, the pressure diminished in the pipe, all the water in the puddle was sucked back into the mains.
Good God.
Yeah, and that was the cause of the dirty water in that locality at the time. Because needless to say, like, when the pressure goes down in the pipe, or if there was a vacuum in the pipe, it would suck the water back in through the pipe. Now, at that stage then, when they realised what was after happening, they did say they were going to put non-return valves on the meters. And natural fact, like a lot of the farm, there was no meters in a lot of the places at the time. They were going to put non-return valves on the thing in order to avoid that possibility. But sure, of course, that was never done either. But now that was okay. I mean, it was only a once-off incident, but I mean that can still happen. I mean, if there's a bad leak over and coming into my land there now, all that water that's fallen today in the fields would make its way back into the water mains if there was no pressure in the mains to stop it from going back in, like.
God, the complexity of all of this is incredible, Michael, really.
But like, going back to what has been said before, years ago, we all knew who the waterman was, if you like, and if you had a problem, they would look after it, South Tip County Council or whatever, and that's the way that should never have been interfered with, because you know, those are the people, and I've heard them on your show, that they know exactly where the pipes are, they know exactly where the valves are, they know exactly where every...
Yeah, and these are the people we need. Michael, thank you so much. Look after yourself, and we'll check up. We'll continue to check on the leak, Michael. Thanks very much indeed for that. Let me take a break. Back in just a moment.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tip Today on 1800 938 007.
And you're very welcome back to Tip Today. Now, a bereavement mass is taking place at St. Oliver's Church in Clonmel this evening. And joining me now to tell me more is Jimmy Ryan. Good morning to you, Jimmy.
Good morning, Fran. Thank you very much for having me.
Good to see you today. For people who might be too sure, tell me about St. Oliver's Church. Sadly, I haven't been in the church. Relatively new church, I guess.
Yes, it is. It's essentially made up of parts of what was St. Mary's, St. Peter and Paul's and Powerstown Parish churches. And in the late 80s, they started having Mass as part of the development towards creating a parish there in the local. It was a sports centre, an area for that. And by the mid-90s, they had got on. There was a Father Tom Griffin there, you might remember the name,
of course, yes,
who did an enormous work. And he was one of the Rosminians. The Rosminians took on the parish duties there. And it's almost come to full cycle now, in that they came to when they could no longer provide the ministry, and Father Michael Hegarty, whom you probably know well, was the last of the Rosminians, and so there's two new young priests in there.
Ellie was telling me it's a gorgeous church. It has a very
really
intimate feeling
church.
to it.
It has great character, timber beams, right in the actual structure, where normally you would have concrete columns, you have huge timber beams right from ground up to the ceiling. It's so cosy and so homely.
Isn't it great? You have young priests there now as well.
Yes, absolutely. And we're talking about mid-40s, which is unusual enough in this.
How important is that? Because I mean, as you say, it's a relatively young parish. It's a very vibrant community around there. How important is it that you have younger priests with lots of energy, I suppose?
Very, very important. And they're not saying that other parishes are not active, but they bring a bit of a boost to old fogies like myself. That it's lovely to see someone of that age profile, and they bring energy.
Yes.
To it as well.
And the bereavement mass, as we say, is happening this evening. It's been going on for a few years, I think, Jimmy.
Oh God, it has been. It has indeed, Fran. It has been going on. I would say, I'm not sure exactly when it started, but it's probably more than 10 years, or bordering on 10 years. At the moment in St. Oliver's, and there are aspects of it that the parish council and the volunteers, and all of this is organised by the volunteers in the parish, and fabulous credit to them over the years. And there are aspects of it that are very special, that stand out even from the normal approach to a bereavement mass.
Tell us about that, because it's very interesting, some of those aspects. Will you tell us about that, how it stands out as being different?
Well, yeah, one of the key things is that when people arrive for the mass, there's someone at all of the entrances, and they take down the names of their loved ones that they're coming to pray for. Now, that can be recently deceived, or you can be like me. I'm the last man standing, so I really understand this, of my home family.
Yes.
In that. And they take the names and they give each person a candle. And during the Mass then, the names are read out. And when the names are read out, each person gets an opportunity to walk up and put that candle. There's a table in front of the altar.
Yes.
And it's all very homely, actually, because of the size of the church and everything. And the organisers, the committee, are there in health and safety. They take and they light the candles, and the candle is lit, and the candle is there throughout Mass.
So the image is obviously very powerful. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then, at the end of Mass, when Mass is over, they're invited to come back and take the candle and take it away, so that, if you think about it, the old saying, November we remember.
Yeah.
And we all have someplace we go in our own house, or a little altar or something, and this adds to that, because they're taking the candle that was there at Mass when their dear loved ones or friends or whatever it is were prayed for, and that adds enormously to it. There's another exceptional thing in my experience. One of the things that if you like, distinguishes St. Oliver's. If you're a regular, I won't say attender,
a churchgoer, a regular churchgoer, yes.
In St. Oliver's, regardless of which parish you come from, if you've had a bereavement during the current year, i.e. 2025, this year, you get an invitation. Actually, an invitation. And I'm speaking from personal experience. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the last one standing, but my brother Tommy, God be good to him, just on 8 years ago now, passed away.
Yes.
And I get this invitation in the post. Not that I wasn't aware that there was masses on, but I get the invitation. And it was so
lovely,
special,
isn't it? Yeah.
that someone had thought of me. Yeah. I'm not from Clonmel, I'm a runner here,
Yeah.
And to think that someone would go to...
It's very personal, isn't it?
And say, we'd love to have you at the bereavement mass. And it was recognising my grief that was still there because it was a matter of months, And it was very, very special.
And that tradition continues.
Absolutely.
Continues, which is
so
lovely,
they're just a great team of workers.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I guess the people going to the church, I would imagine, from that area, there'd be young families as well going there.
Well, there are, and that's absolutely true. And what's also true is not saying that every church and every parish isn't, but the mixture of ethnicities and the way their involvement in the church. There are altar servers there, which is becoming rare and rare.
So rare to see altar service.
And quite a lot of them will be different ethnicities. They're not necessarily local Irish.
But all working beautifully together.
Oh, absolutely, and so the integration in that sense is really good and really, really working well. What's interesting in that sense as well is that the focus is not totally on that, and this is back to the two young men up there. At the other counterbalance, my wife is from the Gaeltacht, and I've been involved in Irish language since I went to the Christian Brothers. I just loved it. It was one of these things. They're, to my knowledge, since the friary closed, God love us all, it's the only church that has a regular Irish Mass in it. Oh. There's a monthly Irish Mass, and they're looking at making it more frequent as the congregation builds.
Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely?
And
you find people come from other places then because it's an Irish Mass?
You see, and it's when you talk about integration, this is an integration in action, because I know, and I'm speaking to some of the people that are here, our Indian community and Malay and all of that, and some of them, making serious efforts to learn the Irish language so that they can become involved in the Mass, and this is the full cycle, isn't it?
Well, it's great to see people coming in, embracing the core of the culture as well.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Which
and
is
isn't that, what we're about really here, And I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the ether out there, and, clearly I'm not here to address this, but I believe in the positivity of diversity.
Yes, yeah.
Right? But no, there should never be exclusivity.
Right.
And this is that with spades, in action, because you see the old fogies, you see the young people, you see them all at the masses there, and we all, when 12 masses over on a Sunday, we all head out to the centre and we have our cup of tea or coffee and the goodies and the biscuits and all that kind of stuff.
Isn't it great? Because of course the centre is just close by, which is...
Oh, it's literally like nearer than the entrance that I came in here, and it's not different levels.
Question for you straight away in. My mum passed away recently, but she was not in St. Oliver's Parish. Can I light a candle for my mum tonight?
Well, of course you can.
So everybody is welcome along.
Oh, God, yes, absolutely, yeah.
Well, obviously people out there are just impressed by what you're saying and the whole notion of what's happening tonight. So I think it's 7:30, is it?
It is 7:30.
Yeah.
And, everyone will be invited then, no exceptions, into the parish centre, and it's repeated, all the time. And, that helps because, and particularly, I noticed it particularly the year that Tommy died.
Yes.
Because things were still a bit raw at that stage, and being able to meet other people that felt similarly and just chat and say, yeah, I know, yeah, me too. And that kind of stuff. And it meant, and that someone would go to that extent.
I would imagine. So I know it's going to be a lovely, positive occasion tonight, but there will be a few tears shed, I suppose, Jimmy. Why wouldn't there be?
And that's okay, Fran. Like I don't want to sound downbeat, but literally 2 days ago, a good friend of mine from the road that I grew up on in Waterford City, died. Now he's a couple, 2 or 3 years older than I am, and it's there, because
of course it is,
we were very close friends, and we were involved in things together.
Yeah, I love that notion though of community. Bringing people together at times like you describe your brother Tommy, and it's so important.
That's surely what the church is about.
Yeah,
that's the ultimate community, isn't it? Being there for the people when the real pressure is on.
I'm sure it will be a most memorable evening. So it's St. Oliver's Parish tonight at 7:30. Jimmy, lovely to see you today, and thanks.
Great.
You're always welcome here. Thanks,
thanks for all your support.
You're welcome.
It's great,
Jimmy. Thank you, and good morning to you. Just before I go, the winner of our €50 Carrick-Don voucher going to Kathleen Fahey of Bournamona Road in Thurles. Well done to you, Kathleen, and we'll have another voucher to give away on the programme tomorrow. That's it for me. Ali produced, Stephen has the Time Tunnel on the lunchtime show, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puckon. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.